What's up, Red Ready? Welcome to the new set for what's going to be a new podcast. We also have a new set coming for the Breakdown Pair show. This is going to be on the Breakdown Pair. We try to stick to bowling news and stuff. I talk about enough about bowling ball tech and whatever else that we try to keep it to bowling news and bowling information and general stuff like that. This show is going to be somewhat topic driven, but it's going to be all kinds of bowling everything. I'm going to do some classroom stuff. We're going to do some opinion stuff. It's going to be very chat driven. It's going to be, all things bowling, basically. Sport of bowling. It means nothing else, just sport of bowling. So for those of you that actually read the description, yes, corgi butts. They drive me nuts. Anyhow, for those of you that did read the description, I kind of monologued like I tend to do, and I embellished, of course, because that's what I do also. Some of you may guess, but I am no longer with Storm. And this was something that took a couple of years in the making. And I'm going to talk about that, but that's not the point of this. There are a lot of questions that come from that we're going to talk about. People join staff, leave staff, change staffs all the time. It's not really that big of a deal. And to make a big deal out of some nobody not being on a company staff anymore, it's not a big deal. It just really isn't. So I don't want to treat it like it's a bigger deal than it is. Now, the questions, though, are okay. So since my channel started in 2015-ish, that's when I got my contract in 2015, and I got it because I was in a pro shop and I had a baby face at one time. And back then, almost 10 years ago, I spent 9 years on staff, but back then, a staff contract meant that you knew what you were doing. Or I had people that had a hard time trusting me because I was younger. I had the experience, but I didn't look like I had the experience. And so as soon as people come into a pro shop and find out you have a staff contract, all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, they must be good, or they must know what they're talking about. They must know what they're doing. And so I got into doing ball reviews because I would have people come in all the time. And granted, in 2015, it doesn't sound like a long time ago, but when you go back and look at YouTube videos from that point in time, virtually nothing. And the stuff that was on there wasn't very good. And so I'd have people come to the shop all the time and say, well, I'm interested in this bowling ball, but all the videos I can find on YouTube are just, 500 rev rate set to rock music, hooking every ball from fourth arrow. I can't tell the difference. And so I thought that it's like, okay, well, Storm gives out incentives to their staffers. They basically kind of give you Storm bucks, so to speak, that you can order product with, that you can order balls and other equipment with. For doing videos, for writing reviews on ball sites and whatever else. And so I thought, okay, well, I will make videos for the stuff that I get so that I can get incentives. I'm working in a pro shop, so, we're talking about, significant poverty line stuff. And so I'm like, okay, well, this is going to help me pay for the bowling balls, but I will also make videos for my customers so that can help them at least figure out some of the balls. I'm on with Storm. And at that time when I signed on, I got an advisory contract. So I was Storm only. I couldn't even throw a roto grip, which was kind of disappointing because I drilled a roto grip Sinister a couple months before I signed. And I liked that one quite a bit. But I was Storm only to start off with. And so I was just doing Storm ball reviews, but it was something. It was a start. It was something to work with. And so that's why my channel started off as my name, because I started off a super, super nobody. I didn't even know people from Kansas City, which is like an hour away from where I'm at. I remember going to a tournament in 2015 and 2016, and people were saying, oh, Brad Miller's here today. I'm like, who the hell is Brad Miller? And they're like, well, how do you not live in this area and not know Brad Miller? And I'm like, I bowl in Topeka. And because I'd spent so much time in a pro shop, I was always working when tournaments were going on. I started, I didn't really start getting, I bowled for like a year or two when I was 11 or 12. Oh, Ilpad, thanks, man. $20, $20, $20. We got to show it. We got to interrupt. And I know that I'm driving everybody nuts, but we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff. I've got a freaking notepad. So hang on, give me like 30 minutes to work into this. I promise we'll get to the point that I'm not just going to monologue and talk about nostalgic stuff. I'm trying to give you a setup for what I'm leading into. Really appreciate my buddy Ilpad sending me some money. So anyway, yeah, rabbit hole, rabbit trail. Is this going to work? That's not going to work. So we're not going to do that. So really appreciate you. I've got some stuff that I'm going to pull out. But anyway, back to the story. I got into bowling so late. I bowled for like a year or two when I was 11 or 12, but I didn't get into bowling until I was 19. And then by then I just got in to the youth scene, and then I went into adults. Nobody really knew who I was, and so I didn't get on any teams. And so I just ended up, if it wasn't league in Topeka, I didn't do it. And so I didn't go out, I didn't get out, I didn't bowl tournaments, I didn't do anything. And so nobody had a clue who I was. I didn't know who they were. And so the reason that my channel is my name is so that my customers could find the channel easier. I just say, here's my card from the pro shop, type my name into YouTube, and it'll come up and you can watch the videos. And so I didn't start this off from I want to be a YouTube star. I want to be a ball video guy. Otherwise I would have called it Luke Rosedale Bowling or In the Zone Bowling Channel, because the pro shop that I worked for was in the zone. And so I would have named it any other kind of anything if I was into it for, wanting to be a YouTube star or something. So anyhow, that's where that started. It continued to progress. I started having some challenges with anytime you get popular doing anything, it takes more time, more money, whatever else. And as we all know, there's not a whole lot of money in bowling, period. And I'll get into this later. But what I did want to start off and say is that if you're expecting some drama or me to just sit here and bash Storm for a couple hours or whatever else, that's just not going to happen. There were plenty of problems, but most of the things were just couldn't meet in the middle. A lot of things that, it's really kind of funny that there's a lot of things I disagreed with. There's a lot of rules that I had a problem with, but looking at it from the company's side, it's like, well, I understand the rules and I agree with them. They don't work out for me, but I understand why they're there. And so that's one of those things where it just can't meet in the middle. And the problems that I have just eventually got to be too much. Now, obviously the couple questions that just straight away, it's like, okay, well, your channel, again, even though I started off doing this out of the pro shop for my customers, the channel has always been based around, even though we do tech, we have podcasts. I try to be a very information-driven channel. I try to treat it like I'm a pro shop, just an online pro shop guy, an online pro shop resource. Yeah, Cam, thank you, sir. I'm going to pop that up if my mouse will ever work. Thank you. Oh, man. I appreciate it. There's too many of these. I'm going to have to give them their due time if my mouse will work. And I promise I'm going to try. I promise I'm going to keep up with the chat. The reason why I did a live stream, though, is not so that I can get on and announce this to the world. Oh my God, I'm not with Storm anymore. This is a big deal. Pay attention to me. It's because, and this is going to be a recurring theme, but it's because it's a whole lot easier to just have a stream and get on and explain everything. That way there's no, well, I heard this or whatever else. No, this is how I'm telling it. And if you hear something different, you can point people to this, or you can say, no, you're full of shit because I heard it right from his mouth. I'm going to say exactly what I mean to say. And so one of the big concerns is that if you've watched the channel, if you like the videos, it's been a lot of different things. Basically, it's been anchored by, or the basis of the channel is SPI ball reviews. And if I'm no longer with Storm and I'm no longer getting sent the equipment for the videos, what's going to happen to the channel? So we're going to talk about that. The channel's not going anywhere. Matter of fact, I've got way more stuff to do than I have time to do now, and we'll talk about that too. The other thing is like, okay, well, people have this idea that staffers just get drowned in free stuff, and I have been provided a very generous amount of equipment I wanted for nothing when it comes to stuff for the channel. And so it's like, okay, well, it sounds like you're trying to say nice things and you're trying to be nice, but if they sent you all kinds of stuff for the videos, what kind of problems make you say, oh, well, you know what? I know that I'm getting thousands of dollars worth of product every year for free. We'll talk about that. But if you're getting all that stuff, what kind of problems make you walk away from that? In doing my due diligence, I feel, as a staffer, I started writing a report to him about a year and a half ago, because I was actually planning on doing this last year. It had already kind of gotten up to here. And so in the middle of 2022, I had expected to not sign another contract. I was just going to say, you know what, this is too much. I need to quit. And so I started writing a report detailing, okay, well, this is a challenge. This is a challenge. This is what I have an issue with. This is a problem. This is a problem. This is a problem. But I had been in the middle of a 2-year contract. So I got a 2-year contract for 21 and 22. Yes, I do have to scroll back up, and thanks for the thanks for the donations. Again, I'm going to try to get to all this stuff, but there's way too much stuff to talk about because there just always is with me. But I had thought, okay, if I get offered another 2-year contract, I'm not staying for another 2 years. That's just not going to happen. Well, I got offered a 1-year contract for 2023. And I thought, okay, well, I don't quite have it figured out what I'm going to do. I don't want to stop making videos. But I don't know where I'm going to go from here. So I thought, okay, well, it's a 1-year deal. How much, what could it hurt? Let's do 1 more year. Let's see what happens. Maybe things get better. They didn't get better. They actually got worse, believe it or not. They didn't get any better. Things just got worse. I got so much more frustrated. And but I just kept writing and writing on this report. I ended up with 12 pages of stuff that I sent them because, again, a staffer's job is not supposed to be what you see all these idiots doing. And the funny thing is, I'm going to go after staffers so much harder in this. But anyway, a staffer's job should be you are a company representative out there in the field. You're supposed to observe and report. You're supposed to find stuff that may be a problem and send it in so that they can figure out, okay, we have several people telling us this, so this is actually a problem, or this is an isolated incident. And if it is a problem, then we can do something about it. That's what a staffer is supposed to do. And so I ended up with a 12-page report that I edited, numerous times and continued to add to. And we're going to go through some of that report that I sent them. Obviously, there's some interpersonal between me and the company stuff I'm not going to touch on. But the interesting thing here is going to be that most people want to complain. Most people want to bitch. They want to whine. They want to cause problems. And one of the lines that I put in this report is that I know that you're not going to get a flustered email from a single staffer and just say, oh my God, wait, everybody, the YouTube guy's pissed. We just need to shut down production. We're just going to have to shut down production and wait for instructions, because he obviously knows how to run our incredibly successful industry-leading business better than we do. So, but we're waiting, man. Drop your pearls of wisdom on us. So we're going to go through some of this stuff, but I'm going to go through it and I'm going to look at the points from my perspective, but I'm also going to look at the points from their perspective too, because it's not fair. There's always two sides to a story. And again, like I said, there's a lot of things we just didn't meet in the middle on. And so it would be unfair to them, especially all the stuff that they've given me, all that they've provided to me over the years. Even though there are problems, it would be unfair of me to just rant about them for a couple hours without saying, okay, well, I may have this problem, but just because I have a problem with something or I see something as an issue doesn't mean that they see it the same way. And so we have to be fair. We have to look at things from both sides. And the point of this was to be productive. Just venting at them on my way out the door is not productive. It doesn't help me, doesn't help them, it doesn't help their company. If it doesn't help their company, it doesn't help you guys. It doesn't help anybody. It's not productive. And that's a big problem with the bowling industry, is that everybody wants to find all these tiny little things to whine about. But they don't ever want to be fair. They don't want to be productive. They don't want to figure anything out. And so again, there are just a lot of things to talk about. So we're going to start. If I can get my mouse to work, I'm going to try to scroll down here. Looking forward to a non-biased review on all bowling balls. I recently made the switch to some different equipment, and I'm wondering what took me so long to branch out. Yeah, look like you're in the ship in Star Trek. And yeah, if you notice, I've still got a bunch of Storm stuff hanging out. I'm not one of these people that's just like, oh, I'm done with them, screw them, I'm gonna sell all my equipment, I'm gonna drill a bunch of new stuff. I have some stuff that I want to drill, sure, but I already got a bunch of stuff that I like using. I've got a bunch of other stuff with holes in it that I also like, but that I haven't gotten around to use. I don't need to go put holes in new bowling balls just to say, oh, I got to drill something from another company, when I've got plenty of perfectly good bowling balls that I already like throwing, that are already good, that I don't have a problem with. This is another thing I forgot now that I've been rambling for 20 minutes. Everybody can hear me, I hope. I am using the microphone on the webcam, which is like 4 feet away, and this was something I was concerned about. So if you need me to speak up, just let me know. Because we need a tangent counter every time Luke says we'll talk about it. The counter goes up by 1. May the free agent strikes be with you. And so this is one thing, since you brought it up, and thank you for the donations, all the donations so far. I got to do this more often. I am technically a free agent, I guess you'd say, but I didn't talk to any other companies. I'm not interested in being a staffer anymore, period. The question that people are probably wondering is, will you drill a purple hammer in the near future? There are some things I need. I need a purple hammer. I need a new blue. I've never thrown a Venom Shock. I used to throw a bunch of Motive stuff before I signed with Storm, and the Covert Revolt, the Silver Tribal, and the Sigma Tour, I just needed those 3 balls. And the Venom Shock came out like 3 or 4 months before I signed. It came out in 2014 sometime, and I was already talking to my rep about getting on, and I'm like, well, I don't want to, I'm throwing Motive stuff mostly, but I don't want to do that anymore. So 2017, 7 or so ball review channels today. Imagine, you've been a great resource. Thank you. Appreciate it. And I appreciate the donations. Cross brand reviews. That's a tongue twister. Cross brand reviews. Can't wait. I'm going to have some cross brand reviews. You've already seen that we have a new tester, Zach Rhodes. I have another new tester. That's another Storm staffer that I'm going to be doing videos for him. It should help all of us out. I still keep getting videos to put on the channel, and I get some good video. I get some diversity of people that are on the channel. You get to see some higher rev rates because it's just been me and Angel. I mean, we're good for the lefty crowd, the senior crowd. But when James started, we had James on for a little bit, but he started drilling a lot of B7 stuff. And so we were missing kind of the righty high rev rate, which makes up, the majority of the viewer base out there. And so it's going to be helpful for us. These people, Zach and Tobias, that's one of our other reviewer that's going to be coming here in the near future. They don't want to dick around with making videos, and I've already got all the equipment. I've got all the experience. Instead of them beating their heads against the wall, trying to figure it out and putting videos up to underdeveloped channels that might get 100 views or something like that, I can make their videos. They can get their incentives from Storm, and Storm can get a video that's going to reach 15, 20,000 people, hopefully. And you all continue to get ball reviews, and you continue to get ball reviews from Storm, and hopefully then some of the other companies too, because James Wick, James is going to be doing a lot of B7 stuff. Some of the B7 staffers make fun of him because he drills more stuff than they do most of the time. So we already filmed some stuff for him the other day. I have an IQ78 review coming with Zach that he drilled 2 of them. He drilled pin up and pin down. I'm in the middle of making that review right now. So not going anywhere. I will talk about all the other. There's some videos that I used to make that they told me to stop making that can now come back. So let's get into this, because I could ramble on this forever. Thanks again, Caribbean Obsidian, for the donation. Yep, House Hack. Go follow House Hack. He had his channel deleted by YouTube for reasons unknown about a year ago, and he's trying to rebuild it. So go check out House Hack Bowling. He's a friend of the channel, and he's a new Storm staffer also. So anyway, the first thing that I want to start with is that there are some things that Storm needs defended on, that the company, the manufacturers in general need defended on. And this is something that Jeff Riggles brought up when he wrote his kind of eulogy article about Bill Chrisman. He said that when he got on with Storm 25, 30 years ago or whatever, he said that he told Bill, he's like, well, I'm a journalist, and that's going to come first, and there's probably going to be some stuff at some point that I'm going to have to write about that's not going to be flattering, and I'm not going to pull any punches. I'm going to tell the truth. I'm going to be straight up with it. And Bill said, hey, you got to do what you got to do. And Jeff said that to this day, Bill kept his word. There's been, especially with, the balls getting banned and some other things a year or two ago, there were some not very flattering things to say. There were some problems, but Jeff reported on all of it. And if there's some stuff going on, or there's some stuff going wrong, or some kind of, scandal or whatever else, he was going to tell it the way he told it. And he said that Bill never gave him flack about anything. Never told him, you need to rewrite this, you need to take this down, don't say this, whatever else. And I can say that for my 9 years, same thing. They never told me what to say. They never told me to take a video down. Even sometimes, now I've said plenty of things that they wished I didn't say. I put up videos that they wished I wouldn't have put up, but they didn't tell me to take them down. They didn't tell me what to say. They didn't put words in my mouth. There were some discussions over some things, but they weren't discussions of coming down on me and saying, well, you should be doing this, or you shouldn't be doing this, or whatever else. They were discussions. They weren't ultimatums or anything. So I have to agree unequivocally with Riggles that if you see or hear a staffer doing something stupid, saying something stupid, and you will, because they've got a lot of bad, the industry in general, all the manufacturers have a lot of bad staffers, and that's something that we're going to talk about. Also add that to the counter. Ding! I need my ding from the video. Oh, whoops, I thought I turned that on. So that's where I'm going to start with. So if you think that Storm or any other manufacturer tells their staff, well, they just tell their staffers what to say and this, that, and the other, and whatever else, they don't. The staffers are stupid all on their own. I don't know where anybody ever got the idea that they had to drink the Kool-Aid and brown nose and whatever else, but I think it's just what they think. They've seen other people say it, and it's just what they think that they have to say to keep getting a contract every year. Storm doesn't tell people what to say. They don't, and they never did to me either. So one of the things that people have said, it's like, well, all right, well, I'm looking forward to hearing what you really have to say now. I have always said what I really had to say. If I went back and made, any of these ball reviews over again, I'd say the same exact things. I didn't pull any punches, even when I said stuff I knew that they were going to be upset with. The night road review, when I couldn't get the thing to hook, I'm like, look, I've got to put this up. I don't have the time to be messing around with a ball that's not hooking. And I told them before I put the video up, and they said, well, if that's your experience, send us the balls back. We'll send you replacements so that you can test those out. Try some surface adjustments. But if that's your experience, put it up and we'll just see what it measures up, because not every ball review is going to be favorable. Every single ball that comes out, somebody's not going to match up to it for one reason or another. Some people are going to swear it doesn't hook, even if it's burning up or whatever else. Just because somebody says it doesn't mean that they actually know what they're talking about. They gave me a little bit more, and they told me, it's like, well, we consider your opinion a little bit more heavily because we know how serious you take it. And so they did. They sent me 2 new night roads to check out. Once I reset the surfaces on them, they were fine. And so I made another video saying, hey, this is all I had to do. But I told them before I put the video up, I'm like, this isn't favorable. This thing looks bad. And they said, well, that's your experience. So kudos to them. All right, so I'm going to get into this. I'm sure one of the discussions was with the Zen Master. No, I actually triggered a staffer into blocking me over that one, because I said something about, I made some joke in one of the videos about the Zen Master, because I compared it to 3 other balls that were out. I think it was like the Helios, the Phase 2, and the Axiom, I think I compared it to. And I'm like, well, or you can just throw this one in the dumpster and you can take these other 3 in a 3-ball bag. And he got all butthurt. He got on the Facebook staff page and said, we don't need staffers out there talking about throwing balls in dumpsters and whatever else. And he was just mad. And there was a whole big long chain. And I said, man, how about you just tag me and we can talk about this? And it just, I used to dump on urethane all the time too. And my viewers get it. They understood. There were plenty of people. The person that I gave my Zen Master to, the youth kid, crushed it. He shot 780 with it the next week as soon as he got it plugged and re-drilled. And so one man's junk is another man's treasure. They get it. It was a joke. It was funny. It was tongue-in-cheek. I'm not going to like everything. I bashed on urethane for several years, and it was funny because I was serious, but I wasn't serious. I've always tried to take the approach to the videos that, why give an opinion? The opinion is supposed to be up to you. People are like, well, is this ball good or not? I'm like, well, I'm going to describe what it I'm going to describe what it does, and I'm going to describe what it does compared to other balls, and then it's up to you to decide whether or not that's going to fit your game, whether or not you like it. My opinion shouldn't really factor into anything, because the Eternity is one of the worst balls I've ever thrown, and it looks great for virtually everyone else. There were a couple people that said, yeah, I had the same experience, but the Eternity was great for everybody else. And so there are some balls, Jeff Riddles has famously said he never got along with a high road or an IQ tour. Not everybody's going to match up with everything. And so that's why I tried to leave opinion out of it and just talk about the stuff. So when I was giving my opinion, I used to do kind of these comedy skit opinion videos, and I would just have fun and talk about stuff and whatever else. Yeah, the Zen Master apparently ended up being a solid 2-hander ball. He was a 2-hander, by the way. The youth kid was a 2-hander. So, yeah. Anyway, I better start on this, or we will just never get anywhere. So the first thing that I said to him is, thank you for everything over the years. It's been an incredibly rewarding and eye-opening experience. I'm not going to read this whole thing word for word. I started to get frustrated, and we'll talk about why. But their staff handbook, aside from being 20 pages long, is one of the most well-written things, the clearest, well-written things I've ever seen. They spent months, they had to have spent months editing this thing and working on it, describing everything. Anything that you needed to know about being a staffer, where they stood on the rules, who you needed to contact for certain things, what you should do, their code of conduct, everything just spelled out crystal clear. Amazing, amazing document. I'm a big fan, and I really appreciate all the trouble that they went to just to have the majority of their staffers completely ignore it because they're idiots. But one of the things in there is positivity. We want to carry ourselves with class. Take the high road. Get it? High road. Take the high road. Anyway, I had been frustrated for a couple of years, and I was starting to let it show through on live streams and videos and whatever else. And so I told them, it's like, well, I'm a big stickler for rules too. They laid it out very explicitly. You do this, whatever else. I wasn't living up to the positivity standards. And so I said, you know what? You're very clear about the rules. I have problems with certain things. You've reiterated this is what we're going to do. These are the rules. And at that point, most people would stick around and complain because it's like, well, I still want all my perks and I still want everything, but I'm just going to be really bitchy and miserable the whole time. It's like, no, the rules are very clear. It's up to me. If I'm going to sign the contract, I can either abide by the rules or I can leave because they haven't been unclear. They haven't been misleading me. Everything was spelled out amazingly. And, I didn't feel like I could sign the contract anymore. And so I didn't. Every time I complained at them, vented at them, they always listened. They talked to me when I talked to them. I had several people. My rep, Brett Cooper, in this area is really good. Mike Senix, one of the staff guys, he oversees the staff portal and the incentives and all of that stuff. And he's just kind of one of the go-to guys for the staff to talk to anyway. I spent several hours talking to him several times. He always listened to me rant, ramble, and whatever else, and always was very fair, firm but fair. So, yeah. So, like I said earlier, people can complain, people can be negative, but there are 3 steps. There's 3 steps here. So people can complain. Bowlers are really good at that, but you can't even get them to explain why they're mad, let alone offer any kind of solutions. Now, everybody will say, well, if you have a problem, tell us what to do about it. Well, not everybody, you can notice that there's a problem, but not know what the solution is. That's kind of unfair to say, well, if you don't know how to solve the problem, then you should just stop whining. It's like, well, no, I am noticing a problem. I don't want to, you go to the doctor, it's like, well, I've got a cough or I've got something wrong. It's like, well, do you know how to fix it? Well, no, that's what I came to you. You're the doctor. But bowlers will complain, and then when you ask them to explain it, it's usually just a bunch of bullshit and sputtering. So they can't even tell you why they're upset, let alone offer any kind of solution. And so part of me writing the report was and what I said here is like, anyone can complain and be negative, but few stop to think or be objective, let alone take the time to offer any realistic feedback or solutions. Now, and I even said in here, some of these criticisms may be based in ignorance. So I don't know everything. I don't know most things. But there's also perception. Something may not be the way that somebody sees it, but if somebody sees something and thinks something's wrong with it, that's a problem in and of itself. And so there may be some adjustments needed. So one of my major problems, and this is the biggest thing that ultimately drove me to leave. And sorry if I'm ignoring the chat. I don't mean to ignore the chat. Hopefully I'm going to cover everything, so stick around. But so most of the time, Storm announces stuff 5 weeks ahead of time, and they want us to wait until 3 weeks ahead of time to start promoting things, to start putting videos out, to put any kind of original content out there. And the problem is that right after they announce something, that's right when everybody wants the information. And they have said, it's like, well, we don't want speculation. We don't want you promoting stuff 5 weeks early because we have stuff that just released. We have stuff that's already out there. We don't need to be promoting something that's 5 weeks out, which I agree with. This is one of those things that I have an issue with, but I agree with their reasoning for this rule. The problem is that when people want information for something, they'll go wherever it's at. They'll go find it. And they encouraged us to share the company marketing. So if they put up Facebook posts or whatever, or videos, we could share the posts and we could share the videos. We just couldn't make any original content. I used to, now before we're going to talk a little bit about Bowler's Rant because the timing is impeccable. But before Bowler's Rant was around, people, once my channel got popular, people would just ask me questions all the time. And whenever something was announced, it's like, okay, well, what about this ball? What's about this ball? Where's it going to fit? What's it going to do? Whatever else. And so I started finding myself spending hours answering questions individually and just having 20, 30-minute conversations with people on Instagram and Facebook Messenger and comment sections of videos or whatever else. And so I thought, okay, well, when they announce something, I'll make a little informational video. I'll make a little news video. I'll do a preview video. So which is like what Bowler's Rant does. When he sees something that's on the approved list or whatever else, he'll make a video for it. And so that's what I did. So I thought, okay, well, instead of having all these individual conversations, I'll just make a video explaining all the details and whatever else, and I'll put it up so that they can have that as a resource, and so I can save myself a bunch of time. They ended up being really popular. There were several times where I got more traffic on a preview than I got for the review when I finally got ball reaction up. The problem is that they asked me to stop doing them. And I said, well, what am I supposed to do here? People want to know the information. We don't want to start promoting stuff this early. We don't want you to speculate because if you haven't thrown the ball yet, we don't want you to guess at what the ball is going to do. We want you to speak with firsthand knowledge. And I wasn't happy about it, but obviously I haven't made those videos anymore. And that just cost me a ridiculous amount of time. And it also cost me a ridiculous amount of traffic too. I've got numbers a little bit later, but it cost me a lot of traffic, which also cost me a lot of ad revenue. So just a massive, massive problem across the board, and it just continues to get worse. And I don't mean to say that I don't want people sending me stuff, because that's the whole point of the channel. I want people sending me stuff, but if I can put information out there through a video rather than having a bunch of individual conversations, I can talk to people. I can isolate and cut down my one, or I can make myself available to more people. If I can do it more efficiently, I can spend more time with more people answering more questions, aside from just, hey, the absolute power is going to do this. Oh, yeah, what about the absolute power is going to do this, or it's going to do that, and just having the same conversation with a million people. If I can be more efficient with it, I can talk to more people, and that's what I want to do. I like being the person that people feel like they can just send messages to, and, hey, I don't want to bug you, but it's like, well, don't bother. This is what I do. I want you to send me questions. I want you to send me comments. And so I've also been told, it's like, well, you can't talk to everybody. And I'm like, yeah, but I want to try. And something like this is not helping. So I understand your perspective. It doesn't work from my perspective whatsoever. It cost me so much time in addition to the frustration, in addition to the ad revenue, it cost me too much. It just cost me way too much. Another, in following this, they don't want us to speculate if we haven't thrown the equipment. I had fun with it. I treated it like a guessing game. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to know until I have holes in the balls, but I'm guessing that it's going to do this, or I'm guessing that it's going to fit here, or whatever else. And we'll see if I'm right in the review. It was a little guessing game. It wasn't, oh, well, this ball is these numbers and this cover stock, and so it's going to do this. It was a guessing game. So one of the problems, though, is that once they announce something, they don't want anybody talking about it for a couple of weeks. You can share that you can, and the other problem is with, okay, so we can't put out any original content, but if we share their Facebook posts and their videos, that's just going to invite a bunch of comments that they don't want us to answer. That doesn't make any sense. The other problem is that once they announce something, they tell nobody to talk about it, but they instantly put balls into rotation at matchmakers. As soon as they announced the Absolute Power and Summit Peak, they were in rotation at demos. This is like, December 17th, 18th, 19th, whatever else. Staffers just got those balls. Those balls just started shipping to staffers yesterday. So 2 weeks before staffers are getting balls, they're trying to help people out with them. The customers that are throwing these balls at demos and staffers that haven't thrown the balls yet are trying to be a resource for these people to try to help them with those balls. That makes no sense. So if you don't want to promote something ahead of time, why are these balls in rotation at demos like 2 or 3 weeks before staffers get them? That doesn't make any sense. It's not consistent. Another thing is that they don't want ball video. They don't want any video up until 3 weeks ahead of time. And there is a caveat to this, but the customers that are throwing stuff at demos will get clips and post them on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever else. And so you have a bunch of customers that are putting up video for bowling balls that they're throwing that they have access to weeks and weeks before staffers do. It just none of it makes any sense across the board. And there's a point to make about that a little bit later. Now, another thing that became a problem this year, they had a lot of website problems this year. Some of them, I think, were actually website problems. They got a new, I know that they got a new e-commerce platform because the old ordering system had issues. And then when they got the new one, it just crashed instantly. And their whole ordering system was down for everybody. For 2 solid weeks, they were doing orders for the staffers by hand. That was rough. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. And I'm not going to get into any personal anything, but starting at the very beginning of the year, every single time a new ball page launched, most of the information was wrong. And most of it looked like copy-paste fails. I have been assured that this is that they were having issues with the website and that they had a bunch of unscheduled web update or web host updates that were scrambling certain things. Now, I've talked to people about this. I don't really buy it because, for example, when the clone, the TDX, Gold Label, and the Exponent, when the pages for those launched, the very day that they launched, there was so much information wrong on those pages that I spent 4 or 5 hours that day while I'm still at my day job trying to answer questions. And the clone still had the ET core and numbers, not the cloned ET core and numbers, because again, the clone's core is different slightly. It's the same shape, but the numbers they adjusted the density on that core a little bit. The TDX has the Rondour core shape from the Rubicon, but they changed the numbers for that too. The Zen Gold Label still have the Zen cover listed, and those 2 covers are different. There was just all kinds of issues there, and it's like, if the issues are random, why is the information on older pages never affected? Why is it always related to? It's like, okay, it looks like for the clone they just copy pasted stuff from the UFO and the alert. Then for the TDX, it looked like they just copy pasted stuff from the Rubicon. Then from the Zen Gold label, it looked like they just copy pasted everything from the Zen. And so I'm not necessarily buying it. It costs me all kinds of time. So all the time that I already put into it to begin with, it just like every single time a new page launched, stuff was wrong, and I had to try to help people out with it. And they did have legitimate problems with the website, a lot of problems that cost them a lot of time too. So, and I manage a few softwares at my day job now that don't function right to begin with. And so I definitely know the headache it is when something doesn't work right and you can input something and then it just kind of spasms or freaks out. It's like, that is not what I typed in. I'm pretty, I saved that several times. I've got an application that still uses Java and I have to use the F keys. I have to hit F7 to unlock the search bar, and then I have to hit F8 to execute the search. So I'm working with some Stone Age stuff that doesn't work right. And every time I go to click on everything, it pops up like 8 error messages before it's like, oh, it just does that. It's like, okay, so I got to click through 8 error messages before I can finally do the thing that I was trying to do in the first place. In some of the specific issues, it's like, well, people see the Tour Dynamics, different core or different cover, same core as the Rubicon. So everybody sends me stuff wanting to know how close it's going to be to the Rubicon. And I'm like, numbers are totally different. Then people were all kinds of upset that the Zen, it was like, well, it's just a Zen recolor. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's got a different cover. No, it doesn't. This is what the website says. And even worse, people would argue with me because they're like, man, I thought you'd be on top of this or know what you were talking about. I'm like, I do. Like, well, that's not what the website says. I'm like, I know that's not what the website says. They have linked design intent. If you scroll down on those web pages, there's an awful lot of information. They have a design intent, a tech data sheet. They have all kinds of information if you just scroll down on those web pages. So if you just look at a description that's, that doesn't sound right, or that's just full of a bunch of propaganda, you can scroll down and you can find PDFs that have a bunch of information on them. So anyway, I suggested that it's like, if I could have still been doing these preview videos, I can cover this up. I can say, well, we're having some website issues. This is what is actually going on. This is what we have out right now. This is what's coming out at such and such date. It can be like a news update. It can work for them. It can work for me. But I understand that they don't want to start promoting something that early. And if they let me do it, they're going to have to let everybody else do it. And a lot of these idiot staffers just want to go crazy about the newest thing. But then when it gets to release day, if you let them start talking about something 5 weeks ahead of time, by release day, it's going to be crickets. They're going to be on to whatever else they want to go on to. And that was one of the problems that was explained to me. It's like, well, a big part of this reason, we used to let people talk about this stuff. We used to let you do the preview videos and whatever else. But we found out that once we got within, even before release date, people would stop talking about it. And then by the time it was release date, it's like, we just released this ball that you guys have been hyping up for weeks. We just released this ball. Now's the time to talk about it, because now is when people can actually go out and buy it. Let me catch up with the comments here. Rambling. Okay. Kind words from Elpad. Appreciate it. Yeah, this was a problem, and we're going to talk about this later. This is a problem that, because everybody else felt the same way. It's like, well, everybody wants to know about this. And this also led to people saying, it's like, well, Bowler's Rant can get a video up. He's not even on staff. Why are you lazy ass staffers? You guys are why are you with the company if you can't get anything up before regular ass people? So you'd have people going to demos and getting videos and putting those up. Staffers didn't have anything up. You'd get Bowler's Rant videos saying, oh, this is what's coming. This is the information on this. Staffers wouldn't put anything up. And so people started complaining about staffers. Oh, it's just lazy ass staffers. I don't even know why they're on staff if they can't get stuff up before regular ass people can. It's a problem. And so it made people, there were several times where staffers would, if they got a ball early, they'd just go on ahead and get stuff done and put videos up because, again, they don't read their contracts. This stuff's in the contracts. Yeah, this is the thing. The new releases are what fueled the industry. When the ball's announced is the most exciting time. I look forward to hearing some early talk. That will be awesome. So yeah, I'm going to go back to doing my preview videos. They're obviously going to be better for the SPI stuff because I'm more familiar with it. I'm going to get familiar with the Brunswick stuff, and I've got to keep up on, because if somebody asks, you know, what's comparable, I have this Brunswick ball or this molded ball, what's comparable in the storm line? I have to keep up with the stuff, but not throw. There's a difference between looking at stuff on paper and seeing other people throw them and you actually throwing them yourself. There's a lot of nuances that that you don't really, there's a lot of, you know, in between the line type of stuff, reading in between the lines that can really only happen when you're, you know, when you're throwing stuff yourself. And I am, again, I'm not just going to, I'm not a hype and nonsense channel. I'm not putting, obviously, I'm going to be interested in getting the views and the traffic, but that's kind of secondary to saving myself the time and being able to make that a little bit more efficient so that I can save my time for other people with other things. And so I am still going to be responsible with it. I am going to still try to do right by Storm, because I am going to treat it like, okay, well, this new ball's coming. I don't know what it's going to react like. This is what's on paper. This core has been in this ball. This cover's been on this ball. It's a new core. It's a new cover. We're going to have to wait and see. You know, go find a demo in your area. If I can find out what demos, because I have a lot of pro shop friends on Facebook. If I find out that there's going to be some demos in a certain area, you know, look for a demo in your area to go throw this ball. But for right now, they just released this ball. These balls just came out a month or two ago, whatever else. I'm still going to try to be responsible with it. But I have to put I have to put the videos up. I just have to. There's no way around it from several different angles. Yeah, it's a pet peeve of mine as a consumer. There's a new ball coming out, but you're not allowed to know about it yet. Yeah, in the age of information and social media, what I mentioned to him is it reminds me of USBC's treatment of the Open Championships. It's like, well, we're not going to release the patterns, and we're going to hide everything, and we're not going to put up video. And if you come in here and you try to video anybody, we're gonna shut you down. And it just feels like a prison cell when you're in there. You walk in, and every time I pull out my phone, I try to make sure to hold the camera down. It's like, I'm not taking video. I'm just looking. I'm scrolling Facebook. Get off me. But yeah, that's the thing, is that one of my big problems with this is that when a new ball is announced and you have the information come out, not allowing the staffers to put anything out about it, it drives people, because people want the information. They're going to go to wherever the information is. This drives them to anyone but a staffer or a company representative. And that makes no sense. Why would you want, at the time when people are going to be looking for the information the most, why would you drive them to anybody but a company representative to tell them about stuff? Wouldn't you think that that's why you have staffers in the first place? You want your staffers and reps helping people with the equipment. If you're not going to let them help when people want the help the most, now again, they're not going to know what to tell people. Most of their staffers are idiots. And so I'm not really sure that I want their staffer to, I want most staffers talking to people anyway, because they're not gonna tell them what's right anyway. So it might be better if they get their information from Bowler's Rant. Not saying anything negative about Bowler's Rant. I'm just saying that he's not a staffer. He's not going to be as familiar with the stuff as the people who throw every single ball. He's got a good grasp on most things, but there's just stuff that I'm going to have to say that he may not know just because I throw everything that they put out. So I'm just going to be more familiar with it. So, I mean, that's something that's never made sense. All industries that provide new additions to their product periodically are now just flooding the markets with new stuff. I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to talk about this a little bit later too. But they don't intend people to buy everything. Companies will put stuff out just so that people have options. And if it's like, well, I can't keep up with all this stuff, I can't buy everything. Well, they're not expecting you to buy everything. If they did it instead like Motive does it, and they put one ball out, every 2 months or 3 months or however often they do stuff now, they may not, you may look at that and go, oh, well, Jackal Fury or whatever, I don't need that strong of a ball. And so you just sit and wait for the next couple months on a ball. If they instead release a couple balls a month, you have options. Just because they announce stuff, and that's another big problem that consumers are having with, well, they're flooding the market. It's like, well, they're giving people options. If it's the other way around, it's like, well, there's holes in the lineup and this, that, and the other. It's like, if they're not putting stuff out fast enough, then it's like, well, I need a new ball and ball, whatever. But as soon as they start cranking stuff out and giving you all kinds of options. Well, I just can't keep up. Sorry. I mean, it is a somewhat valid point, but at the same time, it's not their responsibility is to sell product. It's not their responsibility to, I'll talk about that later. I have a note down. Oh, actually, yes, that's the note. Businesses are going to try to sell their product. Why is bowling different from any other industry out there? It's not their job to educate people. It's not, when people say, well, they're just putting out a bunch of tricky, confusing marketing to make us buy their stuff. And it's like, well, every other company and every other industry out there does that. It's your job to try to find the information and try to find the resources to figure out what you're buying. They're just trying to promote their product. It's not their job to try to educate people. And when they do, people don't want it. I bet that every single person watching this stream right now or watching this stream later does not know that Storm has a page on their website called Bowling 101, where they have all kinds of instructional videos and information telling you about all kinds of things bowling. I bet you didn't know that. When they announced the Absolute last year, they put up 1 million videos for it. Actually kind of turned some people off because they put up so many videos. But they actually did some good videos on surface adjustments. They had some pros actually talking about, okay, well, this is when I'd want to use this, and this is when I'd want to use surface on this particular ball versus going to a different ball. They had some really good videos out, but if it's not hype and nonsense and bullshit, nobody wants it. So, I have a hard time faulting them for, a lot of their marketing is kind of ego stroking and self-flattering, and it's very kind of soulless corporate stuff, and I can't stand it. But at the same time, if it didn't work, the companies wouldn't do it. It's kind of like clickbait and other people's video titles. It's like everything's either the ball we've been waiting for, or the next best ball, or something else. There's like 3 titles that get used pretty commonly, cycled through by a lot of the channels. And I know for a fact, talking to some of the people that run some of these other channels, it's like, yeah, I can't stand this stuff either, but if I don't use it, nobody clicks. So they're knowingly doing it. They're knowingly doing this stuff. They don't like that they're doing it. It's part of the game. And I've resisted it as long as I can, but that's why I'm not, people, I just don't know why you're not more popular. It's because I don't do the view fishing, because that kind of goes against, the whole point of my channel. If I start doing a bunch of clickbait and a bunch of nonsense and stuff, that's just kind of anti what the whole channel's about. And so I'm just gonna suffer for it, really, because again, if it didn't work, they wouldn't do it. And so that to me boils down to a consumer issue, not a company issue. Moving on. Scrolling down. Yeah, I remember when they do the Fine Little Bill promo and nobody could find him anywhere. Possibly. The internet lies. Yeah, who's James Wick? Yes, I do QA for a living. I'd happily charge them my consulting rate to glance at every ball page before it goes live. I'm pretty sure that all my bitching about it, especially publicly, has frustrated them. And so I imagine one way or the other, whether they got the web host updates taken care of or whether they just said, can we get stuff on the web? Can you just look at stuff twice, make sure that we got the right stuff up there? Either way, I'm pretty sure the problem's fixed. We could be bringing the preview videos back. Yes, I talked about that. I think we need to call Luke. I'll put this up on the screen. I think we need to call Luke an independent, not a free agent. Free agent applies being open to being hired by another team. Yes, and that's kind of my point. I haven't talked to anybody else. I'm not interested in talking to anybody else because I don't really want to sign with anybody else. While I might get some product out of it, I don't want to be exclusive. I don't want to not throw on my Storm stuff anymore. I mean, I haven't been lying about the Summit. That, and now that I've got the Peak, I drilled a new promotion. I don't want to give up my Storm stuff. I just don't. So I don't want to sign with anybody else. I'm going to drill a few balls, probably. I'm not in any rush to do it because, again, I've already got plenty of stuff that works just fine for me. And as you can see, I've got a bunch of Storm promo stuff up here. They're nice signs. I like them. I like the company. So it's, I mean, sorry. I know we were looking for blood, but there's not going to be any here. Storm websites are bad. When I got into bowling a year ago, their ball matchmaker would give me the same ball no matter what stats I put in. Worst part was the suggestions were discontinued. Yeah, see, that's another thing, and that's not a web host update freaking things out. I talked to enough people after I was told that not a thing. Pretty sure it's been resolved though, one way or another. I was definitely a little bitch about it, but I mean, sometimes you need to be. Yep, when I asked you about my big time, I tried to help you by saying what I think the range in the SPI line. Yep. Everybody hates the matchmaker. So if anybody from Storm's watching, everybody hates the matchmaker. You might do something about it. I did the matchmaker and it came back if you thought about taking up billiards instead. Yeah. And see, this is reasonable. This is another thing too. It's like, honestly, I prefer waiting for ball reviews from pros and staffers instead of Joe Random posting ball videos on YouTube. That boils down to a consumer thing. Once again, the consumers might, they might be complaining about this, but it's like, okay, well, you should probably do this just because stuff's not up. Why would you think that staffers, I mean, you got to stop and think about some things. It's like, why would everybody be talking about this stuff and a bunch of staffers just not be saying anything at all? Because they're all in a big push to get social media presence because that helps them keep their contract. So if they could do it, why would they not be doing it? This is another giant problem. One of my biggest pet peeves is that a ball being released next week, but they announce another ball that's very similar, something like a Belmo ball today, to be released in the middle of next month. They started doing this. The biggest one for me, and they actually got bailed out on this, was when they announced the Nova and the Spectre. Everybody was going crazy for the Nova. They didn't know what to think about on the Spectre. But then they announced the Phase 4 literally like 3 or 4 days before those other balls release. And then all of a sudden, it's like, well, this ball says Phase. We don't care about these balls anymore. We especially don't care about the Spectre. And so one of the things that they tell us, we don't want to promote stuff too early because it hurts pro shop ball sales. Because as soon as staffers start talking about something, people don't want what the pro shops already have. They don't want even what's coming next. They want the newest announcement because all the staffers are hyping it up. So that's what they want to get. And that's what they want to talk about. And it's like, well, but announcing something 3 or 4 days before something else releases is the same thing. And they kept doing it. And the problem is that they keep doing it with similar balls. Think about, because the ball that came out after the phase 4 was the gem. If they instead release the Nova, which is a hybrid ASIM with a Pearl medium strength symmetric ball, medium to high strength symmetric ball in the Spectre, then they put the gem behind that, super big, strong, solid ASIM a month later, and then a month after the gem, then they put the phase 4 out. That would have made more sense. But instead, we just keep overlapping this stuff. Like, we got most recently, we got the Summit, very late June. I think it was June 28th. Then the Bowl Expo releases, we got the Zen Gold label. So they're not very similar balls, but on paper, they look similar. They're both strong symmetric balls. Then we got the TNT Infused. Then we get the Journey. Then we get the Sublime. Then we get the Summit Peak coming. It's like all this strong symmetric ball, strong symmetric ball, strong symmetric ball, strong symmetric ball. And we're announcing this stuff all on top of something else. The TNT Infuse is actually a really good ball, but they've already buried that with everything else. Because number one, everybody hated the TNT, so why we needed to rush out a shiny version of that 6 months later, I have no idea. But it turns out to actually be good, and people like it. It's like, wow, this is actually pretty good. It's not like the TNT at all. But then it's like, okay, we'll dump another Belmo ball right on top of it. And then for some reason we needed a Sublime, even though Global's 800 line is Zen Gold label, Sublime. Those are all so close to on top of each other. You can nitpick and find some differences, but why do we need 3 versions of the same ball all in that line? And then there's nothing between an Eternity and an Exponent otherwise, besides 3 balls that are just, right on top of each other. Why did we need that? I don't understand. So they're costing themselves sales by constantly overlapping this stuff, but they have 3 companies. They can't wait. If they announce stuff 5 weeks early, they can't wait. And they can't wait, or they're going to have to put out stuff, 3 or 4 balls at a time, which people aren't going to be happy with that either. If you are going to overlap releases, if you're going to announce something and then announce something else before that first thing releases, they have to be different. This is not, I'm not a business major, but this is common sense stuff. You just can't continue similar ball, and then, right before that releases, here's another similar ball, and then right before that one releases, here's another similar ball. It makes no sense. Yeah, someone who's worked for over 14 years with e-com platforms, their excuse for the wrong info doesn't make sense. That's not how e-com platforms work. Yeah. Luis in the chat. What's up, buddy? However long ago. Yeah, I'm not too far behind. You might have gone over this already, but if ball reviews are still going to be made and you're on staff for them to send you equipment, isn't that going to get expensive? No, because I'm actually going to be making reviews for other staffers. We're still going to be, it's not like you're never going to see me or Angel again. We're still going to be drilling stuff. And I've got a couple feelers out there for some different things. So just because I'm not on, there are plenty of people that aren't on staff that still get sent stuff. Like Tammer Bowling gets sent stuff. J.R. Raymond, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if he gets his stuff from Bowler X now. I know that the Hype, Charles Hutcherson gets his stuff from Bowler's Mart. And so there's a lot of people that aren't on staff that still get sent balls to make reviews with. So I'm not going to have any trouble getting equipment, let me put it that way. Plus, I've got enough other people that I'm going to be making videos for, that Angel and I aren't going to be in as many videos, but we're not just disappearing. So, yeah. Are they really giving people options with as much overlap in ball motion and strength? Yeah, we covered that. We got to that. I buy old balls because used stuff can be cheap. This is another thing. I used to do a series called Stash or Pass. So when something got discontinued, I would say, okay, well, this is kind of a more unique ball, like a promotion. We haven't seen something like this, and probably not going to see something like this again. But it's something you should probably, if you liked it, you should probably stash a few. But obviously, the companies aren't going to like that either, because they want to sell what's out, they want to sell what's still currently in production. They don't want to. That's why they don't announce when they discontinue things to the staffers, because they don't want the staffers ordering. It's like, oh my God, this is getting discontinued, I need a case, and then have the staffers buy up a bunch of old stuff. They want the staffers buying, using, and promoting the new stuff, the stuff that's in production, the stuff that people can still get. When they make these production runs to begin with, they don't really know how popular something's going to be, but they need to make plenty to keep up with demand. And so they want to sell those initial production runs as quickly as possible so that they don't have a bunch of inventory holding down floor space. And if staffers are too busy stashing old stuff, they don't like that. They don't, and for good reason. That's another one of those things that I agree with. And even though it was kind of a popular series, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. We want to be promoting the stuff that's coming out, the stuff that they have currently in production, not the stuff that's gone. But I've got an affiliation with Bowler Smart, and they've, over the holidays and some other stuff, they've had some really, really big sales on stuff. And so I am actually going to be doing some Bowler Smart clearance videos. When they put stuff on clearance closeout, or they really mark something down, I'm going to be making some videos saying, hey, here's a real deal. Like an overseas Phase EX is on the site right now for like $150. There's some really good stuff. If you just go browse the website, you can find some really good deals on some stuff. So moving on, Kaz Eddie, you don't need to buy every ball in the catalog. Theoretically, releasing a bunch of stuff gives people more options. I know ball tech's confusing. I know that the manufacturers are just trying to market and advertise stuff to sell their product, and that it can get dicey to kind of wade through. But hopefully, I'm going to help you with all the companies now, in addition to helping you, giving you information right when the information becomes available, and once something gets discontinued, is this worth stashing? Are we going to have something else like it, like an absolute? If you really liked it, maybe stash one, but if they're always going to have a cleaner ASIM in there somewhere, Halo Pearl, UC2, Astrophysics, Absolute, they're always going to have kind of a cleaner, sharper, kind of a mild, kind of a medium strength shiny ASIM in there somewhere. So not to worry, they're going to have another absolute-ish type ball. And a lot of B7 stuff goes on significant discount once it gets discontinued. So if you like the look of a Brunswick ball, wait about 6 months. You have golf clubs, latest and greatest once a year. Not in a high enough income bracket for new golf club arsenal. Yeah, there's some FOMO style marketing going on. Yeah. Gifted subs, let's go. Yeah, gifted. Sweet. Yeah. The thing that makes me laugh is that Storm will release 3 Pearl ASIM or 3 Pearl Sims at the same time. They're very similar, but yet they're missing motions like promotion since they discontinued it. Yeah, they've got some problems right now, and I've been assured that this year they've kind of righted the ship from, and this is another thing, I might as well just talk about this now, because when they had the stuff get banned, that sucked. And I stuck with them behind that, because even though that sucked for me, that wasn't really their thing. And they put out some videos, and they showed that the durometer needle was getting contaminated, and I used to work in a federally funded testing lab, and that test has such a high standard deviation because of differences in all kinds of stuff that you've got to have some kind of tolerance or some kind of grace period. You can't ban something because of it, like the motive deal on the cores when the diff was out of spec or something. It was such a small tolerance, and they nearly bankrupt the company banning these jackals. It just didn't make any sense. It's just so stupid. And so this is something I side with them on. And so they stopped doing the 1500 polish thing, and they went to 4K fast. 4K fast was a very, very good surface for ball reaction. The whole point of factory polish is to make something look good on the wall in the pro shop. Stuff is either going to be really shiny out of the box or really dull out of the box. And that is kind of a way to communicate design intent. But at the same time, they're trying to make it look pretty on the wall. And people will say, well, we should just be able to throw stuff out of the box. And, we shouldn't have to do all this other stuff to it. And it's like, well, you have to break in everything else. They have to send it they have to send it at something. It's got to have some kind of surface on it. The problem is that they can't execute a surface to save their life. They just can't. Sometimes we made jokes. It's like, well, is this 1K fast, 2K fast, 4K fast, parking lot fast? That was completely inconsistent. Something like that, a smoother surface that wasn't shiny, is actually really good for ball reaction. That's why a lot of people will get a ball, and if it's shiny, they'll just hit it with a 3000 or 4000 pad and let it shine back up, because that's better for ball reaction. Factory gloss is meant to look pretty on the wall. It's not necessarily the best thing for ball reaction. The problem is that people, I don't want dull balls. It's like they would see a ball on a wall. They would see a 4K fast ball on a wall in a shop, and for some reason didn't think that they could polish the ball up, or it just needed to come ready for me to use. It's like, what comes ready for you to use? I remember getting a baseball glove, and my dad would oil it up and mess with it and spend like a frickin' week breaking the thing in. And even when you have a factory surface on a ball, Hicklin's done, Creating the Difference has done a lot of videos on this with the surface scanners. Ball surface only lasts for a couple games anyway. So even if you get a dull ball out of the gate, it's going to be shining in like 3 games. So people rejected the 4K fast surface partially because they're ignorant and partially because Storm couldn't execute it. And so they rushed to come out with Reactigloss. Well, Reactigloss is hydrophobic, so it doesn't let the ball absorb oil. So a lot of people were getting them, and the balls weren't hooking. They say that they've fixed the problem with it, and a couple of people that I've talked to seem to agree. I haven't thrown anything with an out-of-box surface since the DNA, and it was getting cross-contaminated because it went straighter than my mix. But the TNT Infused, the Journey, the Sublime, the Summit Peak, they all felt different to the touch. I still resurfaced them anyway because the bowling center that we film at is so busy that we can only film on Sundays. And so if something sucks and we're out there, we're set up, we're ready to film, and then something sucks and I have to drive home and I have to rebuild the surface, then we have to go back out the following Sunday to try to do it again. And I just wasn't doing that. However, one of our testers, Tobias, he said the Infused was fine, the Sublime's fine, the Journey was fine. He didn't have to do anything to the covers, so they say that they've gotten it fixed, and it sounds like they possibly did have it fixed. But the problem is that people rejected 4K fast because they had to have shiny bowling balls, and they had to have them factory shined. They couldn't get them and put polish on them themselves. That was too much to ask. And so something that was a very innovative, great idea for a surface got rejected because people are stupid, but also because Storm couldn't execute it right. It's like sometimes they just forget to put the final surface on it. And people were getting mad at me saying, well, we really need these. How do we know how this ball is supposed to react? If you don't throw them out of the box, you're changing the surface and you're completely changing the reaction. And so I don't know what I'm going to get. It's like, okay, take a look at a picture and we get plenty of balls in, so I've seen this myself, but this just perfectly illustrates the situation. I got a picture from a pro shop owner that said, okay, explain this one to me. These are two exponents that came out of the box just like this. The one on the right looks like it's 4,000 grit, almost shiny, but not quite shiny. The one on the left looks like it's about 500 or 1,000. Which one of those am I supposed to throw out of the box? Which one? What, well, you throw them out of the box because that's how the manufacturer intends them. Which one of these did the manufacturer intend? Because they both came out of the same box. They both came out of the box like this. He got these in the same order. Which one of these box surfaces is the one that I'm supposed to throw because that's how the manufacturer intended it? Which one? Moving on. Back to the chat. I'll try to catch up with this, then I'll get going again. Oh, Shimwrecker, thanks. Fabulous. Buying a beverage for the goat of all time ball review world? Maybe, maybe not. It's not for me to say. I'm not going to be LeBron James and proclaim myself the GOAT. I just try to, and I'm not trying to be some white knight or something. I mean, it probably really sounds like that, and I can see why you might think that. But did I miss something? Is Luke not with Storm anymore? I am not with Storm anymore. Probably best to start the stream over when we're done with this. But yes, as of right, yes, I'm not with Storm anymore, and I'm talking about why I'm not with Storm anymore. And again, I'm not, some of it we just couldn't meet in the middle. So, yeah, flood the market with new stuff, then watch Simo throw an old Idle Cosmos or Idle on the dang area pattern. Yeah, Idle was his favorite ball, and that's another one of those new PBA rules. And I think part of it is because the manufacturers pay $50,000 a year per brand to the PBA to register their products. And that's the last thing Roto Grip probably wants to see is Simo throwing a ball that's been discontinued for years on TV. That doesn't help them promote their brand or get any of their investment back. And so I think that was more of it was partially a hardness thing, but also partially we want to make people throw new and current stuff. I think it's more of a marketing angle than anything else. I think part of that was part of the urethane ban from the PBA too was something to do with that because there were purple hammers and pitch blacks all over the place. The overlap makes it seem like someone in-house is trying to outdo someone else for a promotion instead of putting company profit first. Yeah, it just doesn't take a business major to figure out that you can't overlap competing products like that because you're just stealing from yourself. I've emailed Storm several times after they put up a new ball listing full of mistakes. I've never gotten a reply from Storm, and they still post crap on nearly every new ball. That was my problem. And I was told it was a web host thing, but we've gone through the reasons for why that doesn't sound right. Huh. Thank you. I quit bowling and threw away all my equipment because Bowlero ruined my bowling center. My hatred for two-handers. Still love watching your reviews. Best reviews on the interwebs. I have a lot of people that say this. There's a lot of people that don't even throw Storm that still like watching the way that I explain ball reaction. They still learn things about ball reaction, even though I'm not throwing something that they're ever going to throw. Yeah, this is something how Jack Tramiel did with Atari advertisement, always talking about the next great machine, which put people off from buying the current ones, and look what happened. That's the other thing. So I don't really disagree with them much when it comes to, we've got to be promoting what people can actually buy. If we're always talking about something new, but they're some of the worst ones about doing that. We'll talk about that later. What happened to Big Bowling? We're actually going to have Rhino Page on here at some point. Rhino used to live in the area And so we got to know him. I actually bowled on a league team with him at one point. And so we're going to have him on the show, and he said he'd be glad to give us all some inside information. So you still going to do a two-handed review on the balls? I might have. There are some two-handers in the area. I might have some two-handed ball reviews. It might actually happen. So, oh, another donation. Sorry I didn't catch this earlier. What balls do you think you might be interested in throwing now that you're independent from Motive in Brunswick? Like I said, I've never thrown a Venom Shock. I definitely need a purple hammer and a new blue just because I'm a lefty. An NV Tour is on the list. Outside of that, there's some other fun stuff. I do have an original Covert Revolt, not the remake, an original Motive Covert Revolt. I also have an original blue and black Taboo. Those were some of my favorites from way back under those are some throwback balls. Outside of that, I like the look of the Theorem. I kind of want one of those. I want a Kinetic Cobalt. I know that those have been discontinued. It really reminded me of the Prodigy from Storm way back when. But again, I've got plenty of stuff that I'm super happy with throwing right now, so I'm not really in a rush to get any of this stuff. I have a Venom Shock. I recently acquired a Venom Shock. I also recently acquired an NV Tour, but that's not the first thing. I wasn't going to ring in the new year drilling new balls because I'm finally free. I've just got the Summit Peak just started to be able to throw the Summit Peak and the Absolute Power. I like both of those. I really like the Summit. I just drilled a new ProMotion. I need to drill a new Idle Cosmos. I've got plenty of Storm stuff that I really, really like and that I'm just fine with. And so unless I find some kind of a need to drill something else, I'm not in any real rush because I'm perfectly happy with the equipment. Like I said, I'm still going to be making reviews for them. I like the stuff. So thank you for the donation. That's a good point. Do you expect being independent to maybe help your Bowler Mart affiliation to do more work since you can feature more equipment? I would hope so. The link tracking thing that they do with Rakuten, so basically what it does is if you go through the link, even if you navigate to some other ball, you don't have to find one of my links specifically for a specific ball. If you follow any one of my links to the website, you can then navigate and it'll kind of track your purchases from there, which is how I get my 5% commission or whatever, which is how they kind of track the sales. But there's a lot of people that have ad blockers and tracker blockers, and a lot of stuff like that. So I don't think it really works that well. And there have been some small discussions about that. So, and again, I might get some kind of a deal as far as, like the Hype has, Charles Hutcherson, he gets his stuff for the reviews from Bowler Mart. And so I might actually poke around there. I might just see maybe some of the local reps want to send me some Brunswick stuff or some Motive stuff or whatever else for some videos. I don't know, but we shall see. Catching up. Yeah, 4K stuff looked a million times better on the lane than Reactogloss. And I will defend them on this. 4K fast, amazing idea. If they could have executed it correctly, and if the consumers weren't so ignorant, man, great idea. Fantastic idea. I really love the surface. I really did. And for people that want to just throw the ball out of the box. But yeah, I mean, that's bowling with the FEF. That's what I usually do, not to shine off first thing, because it's just not good for ball reaction. And again, Gazzetti, after a few games, the surface has changed anyway. Again, Hicklin has done plenty of videos with the surface scanner showing things change radically in a couple games. So Reactogloss is good for the hook and houses I bowl in. Is this referring to what Barnes said in his video regarding Reactogloss being okay now? Yeah. The thing is that they had the balls get banned, and they had to scramble to try to fix that and put some new stuff out, and then also have a box surface that wasn't going to provide, have problems. And then people rejected that, so it's like, oh crap, well, we need something shiny now because people don't know what's good for them, basically. And so they rush to get that out, but then it's like, okay, it looks pretty and it's all squeaky, but the balls can't absorb oil, so it turns them into marbles. And with stickier oil, now some people didn't have a problem with them. Some people was like, I don't know what y'all are talking about. These balls are acting just fine. But other people, I kept every single shiny ball. We must have stickier oil where we film that or something, because it just turned everything into urethane. True Cut gloss before True Cut gloss, not the same thing. I'm like, I don't know. That stuff it's poorly named because it's like React to Scuff. It's like True Cut Scuff. It doesn't shine the ball up. It's not React. It's different. But yeah, I have been assured, and we're going to test it out. And again, one of my new testers said, yeah, I have no problem with it the last several balls. Had to resurface everything else, but don't have a problem with it now. So they might have just had them remove they might have just had the manufacturing company remove the hydrophobic agent or the slip agent in there. That's plausible. Catching up, scrolling through. Yeah, the exponent pick illustrated your point of surface perfectly. Yeah, I mean, so all the people that are complaining about, well, you got to throw it out of the box because that's how the manufacturer intends it. Just because it says something on a box doesn't mean it comes out of that surface. Something that's 2,000 may come at 1,000, it may come at 3,000, 4,000, whatever else. So let's see. Motive Luke. No. Kinetic Cobalt's on sale at Bowler's Mart. Again, I have plenty of other balls, and I've got a bunch of balls on the shelf, other stuff that we've collected over the years that I'd like to get around to drilling. So I'd like to see you do a review on the Mindset, Perfect Mindset, Black Widow 2.0 Hybrid. James has all of those. I didn't start following your content because you're on staff. I started following you because of your in-depth reviews. Every ball I own was purchased with your information of mine. I have zero regrets. Thank you. And the problem here is that staffers now are so concerned with drinking the Kool-Aid and doing whatever they have to do to make themselves look good to stay on staff that they're making themselves look bad, and me by association. Because there's a lot of people that say, oh, as soon as I hear somebody's a staffer, that's all I need to know about them. And so that negatively reflects on me because other people are idiots. So would love to see you and Hicklin get together for an interview or Luke talk or something. It's kind of hit and miss. They have some of the best surfacing stuff out there, and this True Cut gloss looks really interesting. He did one of the best videos I've ever seen with Purple Hammer illustrating the importance of hardness. Does some really good stuff. Some of the products are a little sketchy, and the whole pay to be on staff thing, I'm not a big fan of. But credit where credit's due. The True Cut pads are great. Their surfacing kit is amazing. He does some really, really good videos with, again, the hardness issue, illustrating exactly what's going on there. So yeah, he does some really good stuff. So this is another thing. Glad you brought this up. Anything in your extensive equipment stash you need to part with? No. Not parting with anything. I'm not selling. This is something I told them at the very end of my report. Unlike most people that get off staff of the company, most people just dump all their stuff and they drill a bunch of fresh stuff from anybody else. I'm not going to do that. I'm still just happy with all my Storm stuff, and I've got plenty of stuff. I'm not going to sell any staff balls. And that's the other thing is, if a staffer is selling used balls that they got from HQ, can't do that. If because there's a lot of people that break the rules. if they get a ball from HQ and they drill it and they don't like it, they sell it to somebody. We're supposed to give them away, preferably to youth programs. We're supposed to give stuff away. Now, there's a lot of people that order extra stuff and then they sell it to their friends for a discount. You're not supposed to do that either. And so even though I'm not on staff anymore and could just sell a ton of crap, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Anyway, catching up, I caught up with the chat here. Report cards are my favorite format. I've got a ton of those. So all the stuff, the clone, the ZGL, the exponent, and the TDX, I've got those all prepped. Those just need to get made. So, yep. Hide message. Okay. Back to the letter. Web issues. So again, the talking to people is the whole point of being a staffer. You know, they've said, well, you know, at some certain point, you can't talk to everybody. You can't answer every question. You're just going to have to let some of this stuff go. I'm like, I don't want to do that though. And if I can make videos that are going to spread information so that I can get to more of these questions and talk to more people about different things, I don't want to just say, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have time for you. That defeats the whole point of being a staffer in the first place. And I know at some certain point you get so many people, like I've got 25,000 subscribers. I can't talk to all those people. And I got other people that follow me on Facebook and then other people that follow me on Instagram. And it's like, I'm only one person. I can't, there's only a certain amount that I can do, but I want to be able to do as much as I can do. You know, everybody that talks to me knows that if I got the notification, I will message you back. I will talk back on your comment. And if I don't respond, it's likely I didn't see it. And I want that to continue to be a thing. Social media rules. When it comes, because I'm YouTube social media, in my mind, 3 key social media rules are be first, be frequent, and be different. Because if you are the first one to the news, then everybody's going to watch it no matter how good it is anyway. So being first, being out there first, it is important for social media growth. Being frequent, posting several things, being active, giving people a steady stream of things to look at, and being different. If you're just a cookie cutter of somebody else, then they're gonna click off the video. They're not going to care. A point that I made is that if my impact or contributions are to be measured on traffic and engagement, because they have some stuff in their staff handbook that says, well, if you have this many subscribers or followers, you're this level of an influencer. If you have this, you know, whatever else. Okay, well, if I'm going to be judged on my following, if the rules are actively interfering with my traffic, how is that fair? If you don't give me free reign to post what I need to post within reason, meeting some of the rules, if I've got handcuffs on, how is that fair? If you're going to judge me on that, then you have to take into account the exclusivity and the challenges that following the rules provide. That's why you see so many people jumping the gun, because they're trying to get any kind of advantage they can to build their following. And it says, yes, this encourages people to break the rules or work angles in attempts to draw more traffic. Whether true or not, staffer perception is that the rules make little to no sense and are rarely, if ever, enforced. The same people continue to break the rules, seemingly without penalty. And then we talked about this: when balls are announced, consumers want information. They'll go anywhere the information is. The way the rules are set up now, customers have to go to literally anybody but a staffer at the time that they want the information the most. A business plan that drives people away from company representatives who aren't prepared by the company to handle customer questions ahead of a product announcement in the first place is questionable. This, however, is not a storm problem. This is a staffer problem, because you've seen, if you follow Chris Beans or the Bowlers Rant channel, you've seen what kind of a nightmare B7's had over the last several weeks with some leaks going up on his channel, and then some staffers sending him screenshots of emails. Staffers are the absolute worst when it comes to leaking information. that they're the reason that the companies are kind of tight-lipped with stuff. It would make sense. You would think it's like, okay, well, before something comes out, the company wants to or should tell their representatives, their staffers, their reps, whatever else, should give them all the information they need, should tell them about stuff, should communicate with them. But if they do that, these idiot staffers just go blab everything that they know. And then it ends up on Bowler's Rant, and then people are pissed. And then Chris gets to enjoy being evil, which I'm completely here for, because idiot staffers are kind of the company's problem for a different reason. But the staffers are the reason that we can't have nice things. These idiots that leak all this stuff are the reason that we don't get told stuff. So I'm not going to blame the company for that. They can't tell anybody anything. They can't. I mean, the absolute power in the Summit Peak, they sent out an email to the staffers an hour before they announced it and put them on, put it on Facebook and the web pages and whatever else. And all the staffers get sent is just the marketing nonsense. They don't actually tell us anything about anything. But they can't, because staffers are idiots. Moving on. Let's get that. Let's just more. We talked about this. We talked about the overlapping of products. You just can't TNT Infuse, Journey, Sublime, Summit Peak, all within 2 months after we've got the Summit, and we already have the Zen, and then there's the whatever the other one was, the Zen Gold label. We have all this stuff. It doesn't make any sense. We talked about that. Let's move on here. Talked about that. Talked about that. And this is the other thing, is that, Storm has said before, it's like, well, we want to control the flow of the information. We want to be the ones to lead the charge with the information and then have the staffers come after us. They're so inconsistent with sometimes a 17 Ways video comes out right after the announcement, and sometimes it comes out 2 weeks after the bowl has been released. And at that point, nobody cares anymore. And so I said that I would think that educating our representatives, getting the hands and getting the equipment in their hands earlier and having them drive the flow of information would be the best thing to do. But I'm not sure that I would want our staffers, or their staffers now, not my circus, not my monkeys. I don't think that I'd want those people telling stuff to people anyway, because here's the problem. Staffing being a staffer used to mean something. It used to mean that you were a good bowler. It used to mean that you were respected. It used to mean that you had a big following in your area, whatever else. Well, the whole thing of being a staffer is that they want people who are in positions to directly sell their equipment. So most of their staffers now are pro shop staff. And the newer people coming in, except for small exceptions, they want you to be affiliated with a pro shop in some way, to be on staff, because they say that they don't know how much business clicks and views drive. That's a really big point I want to hit. But so most of the time, most of the people that are getting staff contracts now are just people that are in positions to sell the equipment. People, however, still see, well, I want to be on staff with this company because it's kind of seen as like a milestone or an achievement or something like that. It's really not. It's just you're in a position to move product. That's what they want. And so that's what it's going to be. However, there's a lot of people that own or run pro shops that aren't interested in being on staff. And so what they'll do is the pro shop will just, well, here's a staff contract for whoever representing your shop. Instead of being the person it should be, a lot of the times these contracts get handed out to part-timers or kids that work for them on Saturdays that that would be ecstatic to be on staff with somebody. People who have no idea what they're doing, no idea what they're talking about, who are just going to be the Kool-Aid drinking idiots that can't help anybody. I've complained about staffers before, and I've been told, it's like, well, we have all levels of knowledge and experience for staffers, and I'm like, why? They're supposed to be representatives for the company and for the products. They're supposed to know what they're doing. They're supposed to understand layouts. They're supposed to understand cover formulas and cores and all kinds of other things. If they don't know what they're doing, how are they going to help anybody? And so what ends up happening is you get a bunch of these people that have no business having a staff contract. Some of the most moronical, stupid comments or messages I've ever been sent are from staffers. If I can't read it, it makes no sense, I have no idea what they're trying to ask me, it's probably from a staffer. And I have all kinds of people telling me, it's like, oh my God, I got this staffer in my area. It's like, it's always that guy. It's always the one that's like, well, they're the loudest, they're the dumbest, they're the absolute epitome of somebody that you would not want to have a contract. They're the ones that have the contracts. And so the problem is that they're not being responsible enough with who's actually getting these contracts. They're not getting the staffers they need to be getting. And so the problem this creates is that they end up spending a bunch of time just policing idiot staff members, and that drains and jades them. Meanwhile, they're not supported, so they don't have the time to support the actual good staffers that need the support. And then that also contributes to, well, they can't communicate with us because anything that they tell us is just going to get leaked. And then, Chris Beans is going to post about it for 2 solid weeks and put out a bunch of good memes and videos. So you're going to have that happen. So that's just a big mess. And something else that kind of ruffled my feathers is they have a weekly staff show where they're supposed to be explaining things to us. They're supposed to be helping people out. But what it ends up being is just 10 or 15 minutes of venting and bitching about staffers to open the show up. But all they're doing is preaching to the choir, because the people that don't read their contracts, that don't follow the rules, that don't email the right people, that don't pay attention to the staff group or the staff chat, or they read their emails, their contract, their player handbook, whatever else, those people are definitely not going to be watching the staff show. The people that are watching the staff show are the ones that are trying. Now, God knows I agree with them, and I don't blame them one bit for complaining about all these stupid things. It's like, again, the staff handbook is one of the best documents I've ever seen. It explains everything in detail, all the rules, who you need to contact, anything, any kind of question that you have to ask. There's either an answer in the handbook or there's an email address for the person you need to send it to. People still, a staggering amount of people still just, well, I didn't know who to send something to, or oops, I didn't know this was a thing. Well, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to do that. And so it's like they have to keep reiterating the same things to people over and over again. The problem is that the information's not getting to the people it needs to get to. And for people that are new staffers coming in, I've had a few people, it's like, man, I thought that I was, the staff show was, what's this all about? Because all they do is just bitch at the staffers for 10 or 15 minutes. And then they have some really, really just little basic stuff they talk about. And then they, kind of chuckle and, chat up the staff, and then we're done. And it's like nothing productive happened. I'm like, yeah, that's why I stopped watching them, like a year ago. And I still have people sending me stuff like, oh my God, did you catch the staff show the other day? I'm like, no, I try not to. And they said, oh my God, you'd have loved this one. And so it's like, man, but if these idiot staffers, the staff show used to be productive before we had all these problems. It's a great idea. It's a great way for the people at the company, instead of just kind of delegating and never talking to anybody, they have staff show every week where they talk to people, they field comments, they give you information, they talk to us. But that's been hijacked because of all these idiot staffers that they have to constantly deal with. But if the contracts got to the right people in the first place, they wouldn't have that problem. Yeah, trust me, you do not want to be on staff. Yeah, Here's one of the points. It's not all what it's made out to be. It's way more expensive and a lot more work. That's one of the other things that I'm going to talk about in a minute when I get down to what it's costing me, or what it cost me versus what it's worth. I think I'm almost to that point. So I'm going to go back here. It started getting a little crazy too. The release schedule got all jumbled up, and we're not the only people that it confuses. Like the Magic Gem was, normally they announce stuff 5 weeks early. The Magic Gem was announced 3.5 weeks early, and it's like dropped on us. Okay, well, here's this ball, and you can order it today, and it starts shipping in a couple days. And then video release day was a couple days later, but we never got the Magic Gems until 3 days before the ball released. And we had a tournament that weekend. And so I would have had to film the following weekend. And then I would have had to still try to get a video done, which was going to take a couple more days. And it's like, by the time I'd have gotten videos up for those, it would have been 2 weeks after they released. And at that point, it's not worth my time, especially for balls that we're not going to get anything out of. That ball's unthrowable for us. So just because you get a free ball doesn't mean that you get any value out of it. Some of this stuff, it's one of those risk reward things. It's like, well, we're giving you this stuff. If it works out, then we get to keep it and use it. And it's like, okay, that's a benefit. Some of this stuff, you're not going to like it. It's not going to work. You're going to owe us a video, but there's a give and take there. There's still value there. But in this certain case, it's like they didn't fulfill their part of the deal. So we put them in the doggo fundraiser. It's like, y'all didn't give me anything to work with here. And then, the Journey, I got the Journey. The Journey released 2 weeks after the Infused did. The Magic released, and then the Infused was 2 weeks later. The Journey was 2 weeks after that. I got the Journey before I got the Magic or the Infused. And it was 2 weeks before they even announced it. And when they did announce it, then again, it's 3.5 weeks before release date. So I'm just sitting here with this thing. It's like, well, I can't go out and film for it because, what's that going to be? And it's like, and then, stuff's going to show up on Facebook. Oh, I saw Luke out filming with this brand new ball that they haven't announced yet, even though he was promoting it for like 3 or 4 months. So everybody kind of knew about it, but still, I'm trying to follow the rules here. And then the IQ 78 and the Sublime released on the same day, but the 78 got announced 3 weeks before the Sublime did. And the Sublime, all of a sudden, it's like, okay, here's the Sublime, and it's coming on the same day as this ball that we announced 3 weeks ago. But we also, you can order it today and it ships today. So it's like, I don't know. And so this is the thing. I understand that the foremost concern with product announcement schedules aren't how it affects staffer ball reviews. I mean, sometimes there's stuff that goes on. It's crazy. Timelines get adjusted. Things happen, and they've got to just roll with the punches. So we've got to roll with them too. But it's really confusing to both the customer and the staffers. And if the staffers are confused, they're not going to have any idea what to tell the customers. But because they can't communicate with the staffers are just kind of left to BS their way through conversations with the customers, because like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I tell you something, but I don't know. So again, going down through this, following the rules has done significant sustained damage to my traffic. And here's where I'm going to talk about the other problem. So the big thing for me was the timelines, not being able to put up some kind of video when something gets announced. It just does not work. It costs me so much time and money. It doesn't even make sense. And so just the ad revenue that it cost me, that pretty well wipes out all the product that I got. So, and this is an old figure actually, but if you go back and look at my preview videos, I used to get 25,000 views on a preview video. And I would also get 20 or 25,000 views on a review. Those numbers have gone down slightly. Again, I've been doing this for a long time. I have more technical, less entertaining videos. So the numbers have gone down a little bit. But if we're releasing 25, 30 balls a year, and I'm doing 25, 30 preview videos at 20,000, 15, 20,000 views a pop. It's pretty easy math. And those were the biggest things to bring in new subscribers too. And so I've been losing all these views, these hundreds of thousands of views for the last 5 years, plus my estimation was 12 to 1,500 subscribers a year. So, and that's going to be a snowball effect too, because the more views I get, the more new subs I get, the more views I get on top of that. It's a snowball effect. It's not just a static one. It's going to be 500,000 views one year, but then the next year it's going to be 700,000. Then it's going to be 900,000. Then it's going to be whatever else. And the subscriber numbers are also going to jump up too. And also, I'm just going to go on ahead and put this out there because, this is, according to my tax guy, this is a business for us. I'm a professional athlete. And so I have to have taxes done based on all this stuff. And last year was the first year that we weren't in the red. So you're going to hear some numbers here, but he had to keep telling us, it's like, well, we've got to do, you can't keep showing a loss on a business or else it becomes a hobby. So 500,000 views is worth about $3,000 to $4,000 in ad revenue. So I don't want to get too much into the numbers, but ad revenue's pretty okay. It's not great, and especially because as you're thinking about it, it's like, say you get $1,000 a month in ad revenue, which I'll just say it, I get about that, give or take. But it's 40 to 50 hours a week. If I am not at my day job, and even sometimes when I have some downtime at my day job where I can answer some comments and some questions and stuff, or, think about an idea or whatever else, it's not one of these things, well, I just do this in my free time. It's like, no, when I am not at my day job, this has to be a priority. And then the free time is beyond that, which doesn't really exist. And so it's 40 to 50 hours a week. Making videos, doing customer service, helping people out, talking to people, whatever else. But here's the other thing. Think about all the expenses. It's like, oh my gosh, will you get free bowling balls and you get $1,000 a month in ad revenue? It's like, okay, so if I told you that you get to work a full-time job in addition to the one that you already have, and so you work 40 hours a week, we'll pay you $250 a week and a bowling ball every other week, but you also have to pay for all your own equipment, all your own tools. I had to teach myself how to edit. I had to teach myself how to build thumbnails. I had to teach myself how to do everything because I do 100% of everything for the YouTube channel. Now I have Jonathan and his wife are kind of the mods for the Facebook, the Breakdown Pair group. And I have a lot of mods in the Discord. James basically runs all the nuts and bolts. Angel does a lot of stuff too, but we also have there's probably 10 or 15 other mods that I have in there. But when it comes to the YouTube channel, I do 100% of everything. And it's been brought up to me before. It's like, well, why don't you have somebody make your thumbnails? Or why don't you have somebody, it's already not worth it to begin with, let alone if I have to pay somebody to do something. That's just not going to happen. So it's a full-time deal beyond the job that already pays me. And so basically, to break the numbers all down, to not belabor the point, based on the ad revenue that I get, I factor in, I have through the YouTube memberships, I get some stuff for that too. I get some stuff through Patreon. Storm pays me nothing. They send me, and I will talk about that in a minute too. I really don't think, this is the bowling industry, there's no money anywhere. So would I be getting paid if I was in another industry? Sure. Would they be getting, everybody that works for Storm would be getting paid a lot more if they worked the same job at a different industry. So nobody's making money in bowling. And so I haven't asked them for money. I wasn't going to ask them for money because through ad revenue, through Patreon memberships, merchandise, whatever else, I can put in the work and do my part myself. They give me the equipment. They provide me the support. It's my responsibility to take that and do something with it. Now, at the same time, there's more stuff to talk about there. But again, last year was the first year on our taxes that we were in the black, that we didn't lose money. And this isn't factoring in time. This is not factoring in any payment for the time. This is giving the time. I'm talking strictly about money in and money out. Last year was the first year since I started YouTube that we were in the black. I've got a drill press payment. I've got other stuff that I have to pay for. The streaming service costs $50 a month. The drill press costs $200 a month. Now, nobody said, again, looking at it from their perspective, it's like, well, I'm sure that I could mock something up for free, but you get what you pay for. And at some certain point, and everybody is, well, you can get this free editing service, or you can just make videos with your phone, or there's this free, if you just do this and this, and you won't have access to this and this, but it won't cost you anything. And then it's like, well, you don't have to have a drill press in your house. And it's like, well, the amount and quality of my equipment is my responsibility. But once you get to a certain point, there's a reason that Brad and Kyle have a team full of employees. There's a reason that Darren Tang has an editor and a videographer. There's a reason that Packy has an editor and somebody make his thumbnails and whatever else, because you get to a certain point, you have to continue to improve. You have to continue to get better. And that is not cheap and it's not free. And so basically doing the math, adding in the ad revenue, the money I get from Patreon, YouTube memberships, and the value of the bowling balls, the value of the stuff, that the products that Storm sends me, adding it all in, even if it's something like a magic gem that I'm not going to get any use out of or anything, it's just going to cost me 10 or 15 hours to make the video, and the gas and the lineage and the materials and whatever else. What I calculated it down to is I make about $3 an hour. That's what it came out to. So all the time that I put into it, and again, everybody, oh my God, you get free equipment and you get ad revenue and you got people, memberships and this and that. It's like, yeah, but offsetting the costs of doing all this, I make about it was $3. No, it was $2.50 to $3. So it's $3 is a little generous, but it was $2.50 to $3 an hour. And so, yeah, that doesn't. So if you told somebody, again, people look at it from, well, look at what you're getting, but you have to think about it. What are they getting for what they're paying me? And if you offered somebody a job, you can't legally offer somebody a job for $3 or $4 an hour. You just can't. And nobody, if you said, okay, well, I will give you $5,000 or $6,000 worth of product a year, and you have to buy your own equipment, you have to make everything happen, and here's like 10 grand. Why? It's like, there you go. Everybody would laugh. I mean, if you offer that to somebody, they'd laugh you out of the business. Like, are you missing a zero somewhere? Or, what are we doing here? And so you got to stop and think, and you got to stop and do the numbers. And I did the numbers. And the problem here is that if I were to stop doing ball reviews, it just say, okay, well, I'm going to resign. The ball review, it's too much time, it's too much money. Even if I resigned and then didn't get the product and stopped doing ball reviews, if I just replaced the ball reviews with ball preview videos, I'm breaking even there. But I can make a preview video in like 30 or 45 minutes. I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to do anything. I can do it from the office upstairs. I don't have to put holes in anything, grip slugs, glue, bit sharpening, any of that. I don't have to spend the gas to drive to the bowling center. I don't have to pay for the lineage. I don't have to spend 2 or 3 hours filming. I don't have to spend, 10 hours editing a video. I can sit down and spend 30 minutes making a 2 or 3 minute video that's going to get me exactly the same amount of views, traffic, revenue, whatever else as doing the bowl reviews will do. So if I just replace this stuff with doing something different, so Storm sending me the product is greatly appreciated, and I will talk about that. That's on the list because there's a lot of good things that have come from this. So I'm trying to, this is one of those things where we can't meet in the middle on, because they're already giving me plenty of product. I've been blessed with the amount of product that they've given me. I wanted for nothing. But when it comes down to the nuts and bolts, it's like, well, this is costing me an awful lot of time, and following the rules is costing me an awful lot of time and money. And I'm not in this for profit, but I can't ignore how much it's costing me anymore. Catch up with some comments. Yeah, I want all the perks of being on staff with none of the responsibilities. Yeah, you have to police yourself and speak in code. Now you cannot just say a ball is junk. You have to use code language. Yeah. They never told me what to say. Now at the same time, they can say, well, people get artificial pressure. But if you constantly dump on something, you just may not get a contract offer next time. So they also announced the peak before the Sublime released. Yeah, that's another thing. And this is something else that I've been really blessed with. My audience is more advanced bowlers, the nerds who want the technical stuff. Your competition doesn't have the same audience. They are watching the kids make useless entertainment. My Discord server is inexplicably filled with a bunch of amazing people. I mean, even on the free side, I charge $5 a month, and there's some other tiers and some stuff. You can pay a little bit more if you want if you want to send some money to some random video guy on the internet. But it's $5 a month is really nothing. It's more of a troll filter. And so, people will hop into a bowling forum or whatever else to be an idiot because they think it's funny, but they're not going to spend the time to sign up for something. They're going to sign up for Patreon and then link that to their Discord account and then actually pay money to get in and troll bowlers inside of there. It's more of again, it does help me out a little bit. But it's more of a troll filter than anything. But I've got just the most amazing community. And that's the way that I want to keep it. I don't want to, I could get more clicks and views. I could do all kinds. I could, throw 20-pound bowling balls and drill stuff with a hand drill and do all kinds of these other weird stuff. But then I'm going to get a bunch of viewers that I don't really want. I'm really happy with the fact that I have a great bunch of who I would call friends now that we get together. We do all kinds of stuff we've had several tournament get-togethers and all kinds of stuff that I don't really promote or put out there because I like the community that we have now, and I like the people that even if you just watch the videos for free and comment, and that's the level, because that's what I do. I would be hard pressed to. I'm like I like watching the videos, but there's a couple people I've thought about supporting, but because. Again, I get it, but I also get from the other part. If you just look, I like the videos and everything, but I'm not sending even $5 to some weirdo on the internet. I get it, but either way, my community is very intelligent. They ask good questions. I have a lot of positivity. I have just I don't have any toxicity anywhere. And if I do, it's out of left field and completely random. And I've got plenty of people that even if they disagree with me, they don't just ditch me and move on. And I have a couple people that check me every once in a while and say, yeah, that's, you crossed a line there, or this isn't actually a thing. And then of course I'll argue with them in the comments, but they know that we're having a conversation. And so we end up working it out. And a lot of the time I end up, coming to the conclusion, it's like, yeah, well, actually I was out of line. You were right there. Thanks for checking me. So I have one of the best communities out there. It just doesn't seem like a bowling community, because even though, you get different people from all walks of life and all beliefs and whatever else, we make it work better than any other bowling group out there. So, and that's why I haven't tried to generate any more views. I haven't tried to do any view farming, because I like the audience I have, and I want to continue to build the audience with the same type of person. I don't want the type of audience that Clickbait gets. So, Bowling with Brent, thanks a ton. Thanks for all that you do for the bowling community. I look forward to all the new content that's yet to come. Congratulations on the independent life. Appreciate it. Thank you for the donation. It really is appreciated. It really does help. Again, I'm not the type of person to send money to people on the internet. I have done it before, but I just appreciate the fact that somebody's willing to even take the time to, I've got some YouTube members that are the $2 tier that do the $2 thing. And, that's appreciated, because it's just the gesture that somebody actually thought it was worth taking the time to get on there and even send it in the first place. So every little bit helps. Everybody is appreciated. It's really kind of humbling, because I don't know what to say in these types of situations. Like my Discord community, a year and a half ago, crowdfunded me a computer, and it was built by a couple people in the chat. And it's significant. I mean, the time investment. The computer that I had was taking about 10 minutes to render every minute of video. And a lot of my videos, especially the reviews, are 12 to 15 minutes long. I had a mistake in my absolute power video the other day. I misspoke and I didn't catch it until I rendered the video and was proof watching it before I uploaded it. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't really say that, did I? I edited this. I got through it. How did I say this way? But to record the little few words and then re-render it took me 20 minutes. With my old computer, it would have taken me 2.5 hours for a little 4-second mistake. And so I just can't believe that they crowdfunded and built me this ridiculous computer that has saved me hours and hours and hours. And so there has to be, again, some thank yous, a lot of thank yous to Storm, because I wouldn't be here without them. They were the first company they were the only, because I had applied to be on with Motive. I had applied to be on with, Hammer before they got bought by Brunswick. And I just kept getting told no. And Storm was the first one to give me a chance. And at the same time, I earned my way up to where I got to, because when I started, I was an advisory staffer. So I could only throw Storm. I couldn't even throw Rotogrip. The next year, they put me on the amateur staff so I could throw both of them. Then the next year, I got a couple $100 worth of incentives or staff credit to work with. And then the channel started taking off. And so they bumped me up, and they gave me basically enough credit to buy one of everything. And this was before Global, and this was before their release on like 40 balls a year. So it was very generous. And then I got put on the auto ship list, or the seed list, to send me. So I got my credit in addition to getting a free ball of most stuff for the reviews. This ended up being kind of a problem, or just inefficient, really. I can't really complain about it. And then they ended up sending me 2 of what was on the seed list, so that I could draw one and so that Angel could draw one. And so they have continued to step their game up in providing, in reaction to the work that I was doing to earn my way into it. And without having the product for the reviews, I wouldn't have. There's a lot of experiences that you can't put a price tag on. There's a lot of people that I that I know now. There's a lot of friends I have in the Discord server that have been over to our house that we organize tournaments for. We're taking we had a group of about 30 people here for the KCO, for the Greater Kansas City Open that was in Kansas City, and they came from all over the country. We're putting a small group of team or a couple teams together for Greater Ozarks and Springfield here over the summer. I talk to these people all the time. James actually freaking moved here. And there's some other people considering moving here. And again, a lot of these people I've had in my house, I talk to all the time. They're my friends now. So, yeah, I mean, I can't say enough about, and I'll cover this again because there's, again, this isn't just to sit here and bash Storm thing. There are some problems, there are some issues, but again, just because I think something's a problem doesn't mean that they think something's a problem. And a lot of this stuff was, we just couldn't meet in the middle on something, and that happens. That's just business. That's not anything personal. It's not anything, oh, they should have done more to keep you. And I'm like, well, I mean, at some point, I'm not going to ask him for money, even though based on I've got some other stuff to talk about. Even though for some reason nobody thinks that social media is worth anything. So anyway, yeah, when Stu Williams does his show, he point blank says he's there to answer questions for super chats. I should probably do that, but I don't. Again, that's just not my style. I'm not doing it for. Well, obviously, at $3 an hour, I'm definitely not doing it for the money. So. All right, I need to have I don't need this for that. My lovely wife bought me a bottle of something called Writer's Tears. It's a cask strength Irish whiskey that is that was on a big sale, and this was my Christmas present. And this stuff is fantastic. So I'm going to have a little bit of a drag on that for a minute while we keep going here. Drop the bottle. All right. You need a lane in your basement? Yeah, I do need a lane in my basement. So, all right. This will work. Yeah, the Discord community. Again, yeah, the Discord. The $5 a month is cheap therapy for me. The Discord content's amazing. How does one find this Discord channel? I think, yeah, James put the link in there. Thank you. My mouse will work. Come on. Come on. There we go. Yeah, Discord server is one of the coolest corners of the internet. Wait, there's a paid site I've been missing out on. I want my $5. You should be. Yeah, where's the where you been, man? Yeah. Talk to me. I'll get you to hook everything up. Come on. There we go. I'm not sending $5 to someone on the internet and not getting feed pics back. Congratulations, sir. You win the internet. Yeah, Billy Ball, you should be in the... Well, the YouTube, you should have been able to get into the... There was a difference in the tiers, though. Oh, no. Yeah, James, just put Felix in the... Yeah, Yeah, Felix, Felix, you're missing out. The most important thing that you're missing out on is the meme channel. You're missing out on the meme channel. We have a fantasy football league that we do in there. Oh, Gazzetti sent me something. Oh, Bold Brothers Bowling did a top 10 bowler channels out there, and you were consistently mentioned in the comments of their favorite bowling channels. Crow of Judgment. What's up, Nikki? Yeah, thank you very much, very much. Believe it or not, your fever pitch review made me get one because I could tell it wasn't just marketing hype. I've thrown mostly SPI. Since then, do your ball reviews. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yeah, Luke for USBC president, then I'd make $450,000 a year. Yep, Luke getting $5 an hour. Yeah, writer's tears, drinking away my tears. Come on. A bowler's tears drink, yeah. Yeah, I'm happy with what I'm paid at the. Yeah, I mean this is the thing. I don't do it. Again, obviously, we don't do it for the money, but got to rep the foodie channel too. Yep. So anyway, getting back to this thing. So again, I had mentioned that, just not doing these preview videos is costing me all kinds of time and money. But again, it was mentioned to me that, yeah, release day shows up and it's crickets. So why are we going to let everybody promote stuff as soon as we announce it or talk about it, even just talk about it? Because then 5 weeks later, everybody's going to be tired of it and they're not going to say a word when it releases. And so that is why I continue to, through different ideas, through the report cards or through comparisons or whatever else, I cycle through the entire catalog every couple months, pretty much. And then I do the sport essentials. And I try to keep up with stuff. But the whole point is to cycle through, continually reminding people that stuff like the virtual energy blackout exists, even though it just released not too long ago. Something like the clone, that's one of the better balls in the catalog that everybody's ignoring. Stuff's been out for 5 months and people have already forgotten it even exists. Now, again, I was saying that, nobody's gonna focus on or pay attention to products on release day when new products continue to be announced less than a week before release dates for other products. And then I talked about how terrible the staffers are and that they spend a whole lot more time dealing with problem staffers than the time they spend supporting the good ones. The most important thing to this is that they keep having staffers do stupid things. And I know that you don't want to broadcast consequences or you don't want to publicly call somebody out and put them on blast for something. But when the same people keep breaking the same rules, it gives the impression that nothing's happening to them. And that is a statement to all the staffers that the rules only apply to the people that follow them. So it's like, okay, well, we have these rules, but the same people keep breaking the same rules, and it doesn't seem like anything's ever being done. Obviously, they're not going to broadcast it when it happens, but if something was being done, people would stop doing the thing. All right, so we talked about this. My mouse will work. Okay, here's another thing. Our social media account or their social media accounts are bad. They, as much as they ride the staffers for stuff, I don't know how many times, staffers are supposed to wear branded equipment. Whenever we're in a bowling center, it's in the contract. I don't know how many times where staffers will take pictures of themselves after shooting an honor score. They don't have any branding on, and then one of the brand pages will just post that without even saying, oh, wait, they don't have their branding on. I'm not going to post this. Well, they post it anyway. Sometimes they frequently misidentify bowling balls. It's like, oh, so look at so-and-so throwing this ball. And then all you see in the comments on Instagram are like, well, that's not that, that's this. And everybody just kind of trolls them for it. Look at this amazing promo that they put out for the Sublime a couple weeks ago. They actually put this on the global brand page. You know how many people can't even tell that there's words above the AI core there because there's zero contrast? There's zero contrast. And some people can't, depending on which device you're looking at it on or what kind of settings you have on your screen or your phone or whatever else. This is something that was so completely half-assed, and this is on their main brand channel. Their main brand channel. It's like, how does somebody get paid to put up something this lazy, this dumb? So what I did to troll them is I spent 15 minutes redesigning this very same thing. I think that there's a lot better ways that this promo could have been done, but I redesigned it and posted it myself. Hey, look, there's contrast. There's extra information. There's interesting stuff. Still, this is okay. I don't think it's terribly interesting. Again, it took me 10 or 15 minutes to put it together. And I was just really copying their format, but trying to improve it. Now you can actually see the words on the page. You can see extra information. It looks cooler. You know, how do you actually pay somebody to do this? I don't understand. And a lot of their social media posts are like this. It's like they just kind of half-ass everything. It drives me nuts. Another interesting thing here is relating to the 4K fast. This is one that I'm going to get everybody else on, though. This is a problem for the company, but this is such an easy fix for a consumer. This is something that if you're complaining about this, you're ignorant and you're just looking for something to complain about. So now that I'm going to complain about this, their quality control is really bad. It is really, really bad. Because part of again, we talked about this earlier, but part of the problem with 4K Fast is that it wasn't consistent at all. Their out-of-box surfaces are not remotely consistent. And even more interesting, if I can get my mouse to work. All right, is it the mouse pad? Check this out. That's a Summit that has a painted Roto-Grip label on it. This is out in the wild. So we have a Hustle Summit. How many people touched this ball before it got into the box? You know, seeing the videos from HQ, the Chad, the bowling Chad on Instagram, he's much better than the people that they actually pay to do their social media. If you want to watch some really compelling, really great stuff, some behind the scenes stuff, some fun stuff, some interesting stuff, and all stuff that's done well, the bowling Chad, at the bowling Chad on Instagram. He's their best social media platform by a bunch. But you see stuff on there. So I don't know if the engraving process is done, if the ball goes down I would imagine that someone has to place the ball in the engraver so that they can get the logos in the right place. So I would imagine that somebody touches it then, somebody paints the logo, somebody then cleans up the ball after the logo is painted, and then somebody inspects the ball before it goes into the box. So I'm going to say you have at minimum 4 people touching this ball with this blemish on here, or with the wrong logos on the ball, and yet it ends up in the wild. How does this happen? But how cool is this? If you have a problem, if you have an actual problem with getting something very rare and cool like this, you're just complaining to complain. It's a bad problem. Now, it's a problem for their quality control because this isn't the only one. The hyped camo here is pretty cool. The S84 response, and this might be I think that there was a reality, like there was an overseas reality. Now this looks like an exotic gem, but I think that there's a reality that has, so this I don't think is a thing, because I think there's an overseas reality that looks like an exotic gem, but that's not an exotic gem. So I think this one may not be valid. Then we have a Hustle M&M that has the Absolute logo, and then the center of gravity, the CG, is actually the mass bias indicator for the Absolute. So that's got all kinds of things wrong on it. But how cool are these? How cool are those? If I get that, I'm not complaining. That's like getting a ball with a bunch of hook milk in it, or phasing or whatever. That's cool. I would like to have that Hustle Summit. That is freaking sweet. And so it's a problem for their quality control. But if you actually have a problem with it as a consumer, you're just an idiot. I'm sorry. You're just an idiot. The next thing, again, was with the different surfaces on stuff. If something comes out of the box with the wrong surface, or reactogloss, if you get the ball and it doesn't hook, it's annoying, but I just resurface it and then everything's fine. I just resurface everything out of the box. You can have your pro, even if you say, well, I don't have a spinner, I don't have a resurfacing machine. Just have your pro shop change the surface before they drill the ball. Yeah, that's a Reality X12 that's got exotic gem colors overseas. So yeah, that one's legit. But if a ball being mislabeled, obviously it's a problem, because it's like, if they're not catching that, what else are they not catching? Because that's obvious and egregious. But if you get one of those, that's freaking cool. And if you have a problem with an out-of-box surface and you whine about it instead of changing the surface, you're an idiot. Because you think about all of the bowling balls that come out, any other product that you get has to be adjusted, broken in, fit for you, whatever else. It's like just saying, well, I got this new car and I had to get in it and my knees were up in my chest. Move the seat back, you idiot. Well, it should be ready for, they should just put out bowling balls. I shouldn't have to do anything. I shouldn't have to change anything. They should just be ready for me to throw. It's like, well, people buy bowling balls because they want bowling balls. It's like taking a driver out on 150. If you hit a driver 250 yards and you hit the ball over the hole on 150-yard par 3, whose fault is that? Yours or the manufacturer's? It's like, well, that stupid club just hit the ball too far. It's like, no, you're using the wrong club for the hole. If you bowl on a house shot and you buy a gem, it's like, oh my God, it's just hooking off the lane, this stupid ball. I shouldn't have to do anything for this. It should just come ready for me to use. You're using the wrong ball for the condition. Don't do something stupid yourself and then get mad at a company because, as much stuff as they run through, as high a volume as their production is, as backed up as they are because they're that popular of a company, if you can't figure out, if you can't figure out how to buy the right ball, I don't blame you, because of all the, marketing and staffers trying to hype stuff up to keep their contract. But if you can't make an adjustment yourself, if you can't move the seat back in the car to give yourself more leg room, if you can't adjust the mirror, if you can't adjust the side mirrors, I said in a video the other day, my new smoker came with its own little manual just for the startup process, just for the initial firing, to break the smoker in or to prep it so that I could use it. And so, this should just come ready for me to use. I don't know why I have to do all this crap. I'm going to spend an hour. I should be able to just put stuff in the smoker and have it smoke it. I shouldn't have to spend an hour working this thing up. It's like, well, they don't send bowling balls with holes in them either, because you have to get them specifically drilled for you. So if a bowling ball comes out of the box like several of Angel's IQ Tours that look like they were rolled around in the parking lot first, change the surface. If the ball's got reactogloss on it and it hooks for a couple shots and then stops hooking, change the surface. If you get a Summit that has a painted Hustle logo in it, sell it on eBay. It's rare. You'll make yourself a lot of money. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, Brady, what's up, dude? Fellow Ginger. There are cars you have to put 1,000 miles on to unlock certain engine features. Yes, because it has to be warmed up. I always reset the surface on new balls. I want something I know I can reproduce. And this is the other thing. Again, like I said with the, it's not, most of the time it's not as egregious as the exponent, that example where one's basically shiny and the other one looks like it's 1,000 grit. The pads that the balls are on before they put them in the box may come at all kinds of variants of everything. If you change the surface yourself, you know exactly where it's at. You know exactly how to get back to it. They have machines and stuff and processes at the factory that you can't replicate on a spinner or that the pro shop can't do on a resurfacing machine. You're never going to get back to box anyway, so you might as well change it and adjust it for your particular situation. So a lot of things are just, there's a lot of staffer responsibility. There's a lot of customer responsibility. And if you're failing or falling short on your end, it's not the company's problem. So from the company's perspective, sure, they want to obviously tighten up quality control. But there are some things that are going to slip through the cracks. And some things the consumer can just fix themselves. So that's why I kind of backed off the whole. I took the Reactogloss issue once I figured out what it was, number one, because the Night Road was just like, I told him, I'm like, these are production issues wrong. Like I thought it was the cover, which I started resurfacing everything and everything was reacting fine then. So I'm like, okay, well, it's not the cover, it's the finish. And so after that, instead of continuing to complain about Reactogloss, I just skipped over it and I used it as a vehicle to just say, you know what, we reset everything that we get. Factory gloss, is it of any kind? Is it good for ball reaction? You reset the surfaces so you know exactly where it's at and you can get the ball back to that. That's the best thing to do. So yeah, Nick Brown's been throwing it really great lately. All kinds of honor score posts from him. And he's wearing his branded apparel. He's got all his logos on, which is what you're supposed to do because Nicky knows how to do it. All right, back to the rat killing. Yeah, so quality control, most of the stuff isn't really an issue. There's some products that I'm not necessarily a fan of. I sent something in about our triple rollers. They kind of fall apart. If you take the little foam padding out of the triple rollers, you see those little vending machine egg quality plastic tracks, and then the little pins that hold those tracks to the bag. Well, there's no support under the balls. So they flex back and forth. Those pins pop loose and they roll around. And so some damage that you think that is ball damage from the lanes might actually be coming from your bag. So if you have Storm triple rollers, you might want to check those out. I said something to him because I kept having balls damage my stuff. I've got a phase up here that I had to plug because I had to drill cracks, or I had to drill damage out and plug because they were starting to crack. And they still haven't redesigned them. And they tell me, it's like, well, we haven't heard this from anybody else, but a lot of staffers don't say anything because their reps suck. I must have the only good rep at Storm. Brett Cooper is freaking amazing. And so this is the funny thing is that the communication issues that everybody else is telling me about, that's not my experience. Sometimes I've gotten professional kind of corporate responses, but they don't want to tell everything that they know, because imagine that a staffer complains to a rep and the rep says, oh yeah, I've been hearing that from everybody. It seems like there's really something going on. Then all of a sudden the staffer is going to go spread it everywhere. It's going to be like, oh my God, I talked to my rep and I said that I had this problem and they said, everybody else is complaining about it too. Well, then all of a sudden you don't have a small problem. You might have it might be a small problem, but then all of a sudden you've got everybody talking about it. And so everybody thinks it's a lot bigger problem than it is. And so most reps, I would imagine, are going to say, oh, well, I haven't heard that before. And so, yeah, I'll mention it to them. And so that kind of keeps it contained, or that keeps it to the point where, you're not going to say, oh my God, guess what I heard from my rep, and do the things that staffers normally do. But a lot of staffers, have complained to me about the same thing. They'll say, yeah, I don't want to use, or we're supposed to use our bags, but they keep damaging my stuff, so I don't want to use our bags. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not what I'm getting told. And then the react-to-gloss issue is all over the place. And again, that's why, Chris Barnes was talking about it too. And they tried to downplay that a little bit. I think that was kind of an unfortunate situation, which is Stafford, if the consumer would have just accepted 4K fast, we wouldn't have this issue. But I keep saying, okay, well, people keep coming to me, staffers keep coming to me to complain about stuff. And I say, okay, well, did you tell your rep? And it's like, no, I don't want to seem like I'm complaining, or I don't want to, last time I said something, they kind of acted like they were mad at me. And it's like, I don't want to, I don't want to piss them off, and I don't want to jeopardize my contract or whatever else. It's like, that's not the way it's supposed to work. You're supposed to, again, I talked about this earlier, we're supposed to be representatives for the company. If there's something wrong, if there's an issue, you report it to your rep, the rep reports it higher up, and then if they have enough reports, then they think, okay, well, this is an issue we need to do something about. If it's more isolated, or it's like, well, yeah, it just doesn't seem to be, some people are going to have issues. There's some random balls are just not going to work for some people for whatever reason. And so, they gauge what kind of action they need to take off of how many reports they get. But if they're not getting reports about stuff because reps are being douchebags and are making people feel like they can't say anything to them, then you're not getting reports. You're not getting actual issues turned in. So, yeah. Gonna move on. I talked about all the expenses and stuff. I talked about the benefits and the incentives that I got. Storm by far has the best staff program out there. It's not close. It's just not close, because they give us incentives for making video. That's why I started making video. That's part of why I started making videos in the first place, because it's like, well, I'm on staff. I can't afford to buy all these balls, and I want to make videos to help my customers out. Well, they give me kickbacks for making the videos. And so then I can roll that into future purchases. And so I can kind of keep the train rolling. They give their staffers incentives. They get a certain amount of storm bucks for making videos, for posting reviews on the ball pages on websites and stuff like that. And so you can kind of bankroll future purchases. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, Storm. The other companies don't do this. I don't think Motive even does Motive Mondays anymore. And equipment for staffers is not near as cheap as people think it is. Most staffers get a couple $100 a credit, and I am not going to divulge how much stuff costs, but it's triple digits. And Motive is so much more. Motive prices are about what you can get, what pro shops pay to distributors. And so if you're kind of associated with a pro shop in some way, if you work for a pro shop, you can get the balls for, basically the same price as you could order them from Motive if you were a staffer, and there's nothing else. You don't get incentives, you don't get staff credit, you don't get nothing. You get the opportunity to order balls at a reduced price. And some of the Brunswick deals involve, some of the B7 deals involve some people have a deal where they sign on with a brand and they get one ball of every new release from that specific brand, and then they get staff pricing, but they don't have any kind of incentives or anything either. And that's why you see it's not just because Storm is the popular company that everybody wants to look for. There's a reason you don't see many Motive or B7 reviews out there, because there's no incentive other than the views and the ad revenue from those videos. There's no incentive to make reviews for any of the other companies besides Storm. Now, the other thing that kind of backs my point is that very few staffers take advantage of the incentives because of how much technical knowledge. Again, I had to teach myself how to edit, how to build thumbnails. I had to teach myself about social media. I had to teach myself about equipment. I had to teach myself about streaming services. I had to figure out all of this stuff that's involved in doing something well and doing it successfully at the same time, because obviously I want to make videos that people want to watch. And so figuring out how to do it well, I had to do all of that myself. I've had several people that I tried to help along the way that would ask me for pointers and help and tips and whatever else, but they'd get like 6 months into it. It's like, well, I'm still only getting a couple hundred views on the videos. And I look at the videos and I'm like, I can't even see the ball. Like, it's zoomed out so far at some stupid weird angle, or they're trying to make a jazzy looking video and you can't actually see what the ball's doing. And then people just give up because it's like, well, this just isn't worth it. I'd rather just, pay the even triple digits. I'd just rather pay this for the bowling ball and be done with it. This isn't, the incentives, if you do everything, basically gives you a free ball. So you pay for the bowling ball and then you do all the incentives, and there's enough incentives to where it basically pays for the next bowl, the next ball that you buy. But I have all kinds of people that, so I tried to do it, and it's just, I don't know how you do it. It's just not worth it. I'm like, yeah, tell me about it. So it's basically, even though the Storm has a great staff program, if you are to be on staff with a company, would definitely, without hesitation, recommend Storm. However, I would also recommend doing as little as possible, because it's basically incentivized. Because even though I kept doing more and more, and they bumped me up step like 6 or 7 times. So I went from advisory to amateur, then I got some staff credit, then I got even more staff credit, then I got on the seed list, and I got 2 balls on the seed list, and even some other stuff. Again, I had issues with the night roads, and they're like, well, just send those back. We want to check those out. Here's 2 more. They took care of me. Definitely, without a doubt, from that angle, I nothing but positive things to say as far as the equipment that they provided me. Nothing but positives. But again, as I've said, the support goes like this, and the work goes like this. So the more popular the channel gets, the more people I have to talk to, the more this, the more that. And it's just, at the end of the day, bowling ball, at some certain point, and I told this to people before, but at some certain point, it's like, well, you keep getting free bowling balls. It's like, I can't throw the stuff that I already have. And especially with them coming out faster now, I just keep making videos for stuff that I don't end up throwing. And if I can't do the preview videos for it, and if all I can get out for stuff is a review video before I have to do a review video for something else, it's like it's all running together. And people say, oh my gosh, that's a first world problem. That must be a good problem to have. But it's like, imagine that you have a hobby, whatever hobby you have, and all of a sudden you start doing reviews for said hobby. I've got a guy that watches me that does really good softball bat reviews. I actually started, I like his, he's kind of like me for softball bats. But say you do golf clubs, and that because golf clubs are most closely related to bowling balls, because there's several different bowling balls that do different things. And in a golf bag, you need, 12-ish clubs. You got your drivers and your wedges, your putter, your irons, whatever else. So different bowling balls coming out would be like companies putting out different clubs. So maybe this new wedge comes out. Oh, that cracked. So imagine, so this new wedge comes out. And it's like, okay, they send it to you, you do the review, whatever else. Well, the next day you start hitting that wedge, and then another wedge comes out and they send it to you. And you do the review, and then another wedge comes out. And it's like, at some certain point, it's like, well, I like the one that they sent me to begin with. And bowling balls wear out a whole lot faster than golf clubs, so that's a little different story. But it's like, at some certain point, it's like, okay, well, my reviews are doing well. People are buying the stuff because of these reviews. The product isn't going to get it done anymore. Because I've got equipment, I've got expenses, this is, whatever else, this is turning into a thing. It's costing me a lot of time, and there's a lot of production that goes into this. And at some certain point, while free bowling balls sound nice, they're, I tell people too that, you get free money at your job too. You just have to show up and work for it. Yeah. But hey, at least staff reviews are copy and paste for each ball. And see, that's the thing. Staff, and I mentioned before, Storm has nothing to do with that. The staffers are idiots all on their own. All on their own. Actually, an IQ is not $90 staff price. It's triple digits. It used to be at one certain point $90 staff price. It is now triple digits. Yeah, it feels like that I Love Lucy episode where she's in the chocolate factory and the candies are coming out faster than she can box. I do remember that one. But again, at some certain point, the product doesn't hold near as much value as it does, near as much excitement as it does when it's new. And again, I've said that I don't need the Bowler's Rant channel is the perfect example again, because he's done a couple ball reviews, but most of his stuff is just news stuff. And he's got a plenty big following just doing news and preview and leaks and whatever else. And so I can get the traffic. I don't need the equipment for the traffic. And if I don't get the equipment, that relieves me of so much time and expense. So at some certain point, the product almost becomes a little bit of an obligation, because I already have, because that's basically the idea is we'll give you the product, you get the product for free, we get your advertisement. But at some certain point, it's kind of like, well, I'm generating, a lot of money for the company. So, I mean, the product is nice, but it's kind of redundant. I don't need to go through near this much. It's like them signing somebody to Red Bull and sending them a pallet of Red Bull. It's like, I'm not going to get through this many Red Bulls, or it's going to take me months. Just keep sending pallets and pallets. It's like, I don't need this stuff. It's holding down space, and I'm never going to get to it. And so again, first world problems, but they send me a ball and I owe them a review. And sometimes that really sucks. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes in the case of like a Summit, it's amazing, happy as a clam. But still, reviews cost me $50 to $75 to make, and 10 to 15 hours. So ad revenue for a successful review video most of the time wipes out the cost, and I'm just out the time. Plus I get a bowling ball out of it. And again, in the case of a Summit, that's a great thing. In the case of a gem, it's not so great of a thing. But the really telling point is, again, that a lot of the staffers don't take advantage of the incentives program. And you would think, oh my God, well, all you have to do is make a video and post a couple little paragraph reviews on these ball websites, and you get a free ball for every ball that you do that for, basically. You can only do it once, of course. But if you get an absolute power in a Summit, a staffer does, and you make videos, actually the incentives are worth more than a ball now. So if you do the video and you do all the little paragraph reviews on the websites that nobody reads or pays attention to, but they still give you the credit for it, you will get almost 3 balls worth of credit for doing all the incentives for the absolute power and the Summit Peak. But very few people want to do them, because they would rather just pay the money for the ball and call it even there, because it's not worth, a free ball is not worth all the time and the effort and the expense of filming a review, doing a review, and writing these. So that's one of the telling things, is that if a system is set up to incentivize people to do less, that's a bad system. Or if, in my case, people are better off not being with a company at all. Again, this is what I said earlier. They provide me the products for the reviews. They send me several $1,000s worth of equipment every year to support my reviews. But unfortunately, because of the numbers that I've ran several times over the last couple of years, I am better off not being on staff than I am being on staff. And so while I am eternally grateful and I thank them for everything, and it costs me more time and money to be on staff than not being on staff at all. So that's why a majority of their staffers just buy the stuff that they want and move on, because it's just not worth actually doing anything. Getting back to the money thing, and people say, oh my God, you're not getting paid anything. It's like, well, they give you the product. They should give you the product, but you're generating so much money for them. They should actually pay you. It's like, they probably should, but there's no money in the bowling industry. Again, whatever they get paid for their jobs at Storm, they could get double that or triple that if they go work for another company in another industry that's actually successful. So I'm not going to bug them for it, because I know that there's no money in the bowling industry. But the problem the bowling industry also has is that for some reason, the bowling industry is always different from every other industry. The manufacturers are just pumping out stuff way too fast. They're trying to force us to buy everything. No, they're not. They're giving you options. They're a business. They're in business to make money. It's not their responsibility to educate people. They make a product like every other business and every other industry out there. They make a product and they try to entice you to buy that product by putting out enticing marketing and advertising. That's what their job is. And Storm supports the bowling industry. All the manufacturers are key supporters of the bowling industry. They do such wonderful things like the SYC, the Storm Youth Championships. They put on that big thing, and that's been such a great resource and such a great place for younger bowlers, a stepping stone to SYCs for youth bowlers. Basically like the youth regional tour or the youth professional tour. The youth PBA is basically the Storm Youth Championships. That is supporting bowling. They support so many colleges, so many charities that they have so much money being pumped back into bowling that I'm not going to sit here and say, well, I'm making you a bunch of money, so you need to pay me. They probably should, but they have so much money going back into bowling that I get it. I've worked in bowling for so long. We almost went bankrupt when I was working on the pro shop because I was making next to nothing and I was getting dicked over on my annual bonuses. When I worked in the pro shop full time from, 15, 16, 17, I was making $28,000 a year to work full time in the pro shop. I mean, that's poverty level. And that business was going under. And I came in and I thought, okay, well, this is bad, but I know where I can get it to. I know I can make this thing recover. And I did. I brought it back, and that's why he dicked me over on my bonuses, because there was a certain target. You hit the break even target. The way that it's worked for everybody else, and the way that it still works for everybody else but me, is that you hit the break even target, and then you get a certain percentage of over that as a bonus. I made so far above and beyond that he got scared at how much he was going to have to pay me for the bonus. And so, well, we need to recalculate this because this, and that. So your bonus target is not actually this, it's this. And so it's like, okay, so not only are you paying me $28,000 a year to work full time and to save your business and get everything back on track, now you're also, somehow cheating me out of a couple $1,000s a year in bonuses at the end of the year. That's awesome. And so every person at Storm, whether or not I agree with them, whether or not I like them, whether or not I think that the things that they're doing are the right things to be doing, nobody works in the bowling industry because they're trying to get rich. Everybody works in the bowling industry because they have a passion for it and they love what they're doing and they're trying to contribute something to bowling. Because everybody, if they, that's why you have so many professional bowlers move on to something. Mike Fagan, for example, is probably the most famous one that just says, I got to have a more steady thing. Scott Norton is a lawyer. He makes tons more money than he ever made as a professional bowler. And everybody that works in the industry is the same. They could be making so much more. That's part of why string pins got certified, because they can't find mechanics anymore, because A2 mechanics, GSX mechanics, they are aging out and nobody is replacing them, because as a mechanic, you can make 2, 3, 4 times as much money doing mechanic-y stuff somewhere else instead of a bowling alley. You know, if you go work in the bowling industry, you have to be super diehard. So that's why I wasn't going to get into them for it. My problem, however, is that I'm small potatoes compared to Brad and Kyle, Darren Tang, Packy, Delmo, whoever else you want to talk about. But they're not really doing much for them either. Those guys are all kind of on their own too. The funny thing is that for the YouTube ads that run on the videos, so advertisers pay Google/YouTube to run advertisements, to run videos, clips, all kinds of ads on their videos. And if you sign up for the YouTube partner program, you get 55% of what advertisers pay to Google or YouTube. So basically it's half. So if advertisers pay $2,000 to YouTube, you're going to get a little over $1,000 as your share for allowing them to put ads on your videos. The thing is, everybody hates these ads. They click by them as fast as they can. Some people even stop watching the video. I saw an ad and I'm out. I hate these ads. I can't stand these ads. I don't want to watch anybody's videos that has these ads on them. But somehow, these stupid little shitty ads that everybody hates, that are on the videos that they click out as fast as they can, somehow these ads are still valuable enough to pay people thousands of dollars a month to run these ads on their videos. So it would stand to reason that the actual video that someone is watching with interest, that someone sought out, such as a bowl review, if they are actually because a bowl review is an advertisement in some sort of way, whether or not it's a good bowl review, whether or not it's informational, it's an advertisement. But it's an advertisement that people actually search out, that they actually engage with, that they actually watch, because they're intending to buy that product. And so if the shitty little annoying ads that YouTube runs on videos are worth thousands of dollars a month, why are the videos that those ads are being run on apparently not worth anything? The bowling industry does not see the value in social media at all. And of course, I'm going to have this opinion because I'm in social media. It would benefit me to receive some money for this. But the line is that, well, you know, there's no way that we can really tell how much views, subscribers, whatever else. There's no way that we can really tell what that's all worth. And that is kind of escapist horseshit. Because in a different angle, Luis Napoles and I are the top 2 earners. We have a Koolaid code. And the best place, unlike bowling balls, because you never know, we have Bowler's Mart links, but there's no discount for anybody to buy anything. So it's really just kind of an extra step and a pain in the ass for somebody to try to find one of our links to go through to buy something at Bowler's Mart. And then again, the link, a lot of people have ad blockers and link blockers and tracker blockers and whatever else. So I'm not really sure how accurate that is to begin with. Plus, most people are going to buy balls from their pro shop. Maybe they can find it $5 cheaper on another site or whatever else. But for Koolaid, for our codes for Koolaid, for our codes for Koolaid, the best place to go, the best thing to do is go to the Koolaid website and use someone's code to get 10% off. 10% is not a lot, but if you ask somebody, would you rather pay $50 for something or would you rather pay $45 for it? They're going to want to pay $45 for it. So Luis Napoles and I are the top 2 earners for Koolaid, period. They've started putting something in our staff group, putting the top 5 earners for the previous month based on uses of their code. So you use my code to buy a jersey, you get 10% off. I get 10% of that sale as staff credit. And Koolaid, which what they do is very cool. They don't, they say, you know what, we want you to do giveaways. We want you to try to help people out. Just get the product into people's hands. That can only be good for our business or our brand. They are a very forward-thinking. They treat social media and they treat all of their staffers like people would be treated in a more successful industry. They have a very forward-thinking, aggressive approach to their promotion. And I am getting somewhere with this, trust me. So Luis and I, based on the amount of credit that we get, we can tell that the credit. So if we get $100 in staff credit, we know that we sold $1,000 worth of jerseys because we get 10% of our credit of the sales from using our code back as credit. Luis and I, just for jerseys, we are, I don't have an exact number, but we are nearing 6 figures annually in Koolaid sales for jerseys. I don't make jersey videos. So while they will try to say, well, we don't really know what clicks and views are worth. So for just the promotion that I've done for Koolaid, the code has been used that many times. Luis and I are the top 2 earners for Koolaid. We sell significantly into the 5 figures, significantly. And I don't know if I should be saying this or not, but I'm going to. But my point is that if we're doing that kind of business in jersey sales, imagine what we're doing in bowling ball sales. And if we're doing that in bowling ball sales, imagine what Darren Tang or Brad and Kyle or Packy are doing in ball sales. And to just kick it back on people and say, well, we can't really justify giving you anything because we don't know what clicks and views are worth. It takes very, very little basic math to arrive at probably, if we're doing that much business for Koolaid, it's got to be significantly into the 6 figures for the brands that we represent. So you have to be a little bit more forward thinking, I think. And again, it was better by the numbers for me to move on. So one other story I do want to share as we kind of hopefully wrap this up. I do eventually have to work tomorrow. I imagine some of you do too. And see, this is the thing. It seems to be a willful ignorance of where the industry is or is going. Bowling has a very regressive mindset, and you can tell that by stepping into a bowling alley. Anything bowling involved, it always is like a time warp back to 20 or 30 years. How much credit are you receiving for your Bowler's Mark code? Can't you use that like you can with Koolaid to figure it? No, it doesn't. I kind of explained it, but I get 5% commission. So I can kind of figure it out, but at the same time, Koolaid is more focused. So the vast majority of Koolaid sales that we generate are going to be trackable. With bowling balls, again, It's through a link tracker. It's not through a code. The person buying the ball or the equipment or the product or whatever else doesn't get any discount, so there's not really the incentive to go through the link. It's just kind of an extra step. And the vast majority of people are going to be, I can extrapolate somewhat, but the vast majority of people, I think, are going to be buying through their pro shop or through other online means or whatever else. And so I don't have any real idea, based on my Bowler's Mart sales, what that's going to be. But if you do some very basic math, just say a video gets 10,000 views. How many balls do you think, especially on my reviews? Because if you're watching my reviews, and they know this, but if you're watching my reviews, you're interested in buying something. They're not very entertaining. They're fairly heavy. They're very technical. And so if you are watching my reviews, you are definitely interested in buying something. You're definitely interested in figuring out what you need to buy. So just say a video gets 10,000 views. How many views of one of my reviews, how many balls do you think are sold per view? What percentage do you think that, and you've got to think about this conservatively. I'm not even sure that I sell 1%. I think 1% would probably be a generous number on how many sales my reviews, and again, conservative numbers still work for us. Because if I sell, let's just say I sell for every 100 views, I sell 1 bowling ball. So for every 1,000 views, I would sell 10 bowling balls. For every 10,000 views, I would sell 100 bowling balls. And my channel got 3.1 million views last year. Now, the shorts don't really count. The shorts are just kind of fluff, and YouTube was promoting them. So you really have to go by the actual video numbers. Until the shorts became a thing, I was getting about 1.5 million views a year on the videos. And if even 1% of that 1.5 million views, somebody do the math on that. So again, yeah, you can find, but if you turn into a lawyer with it, it's really hard. You can't actually prove anything. You can guesstimate and you can get a really good idea. And the Koolaid code really helps get us super close. So yeah, if my 1.5 million views sells 15,000 bowling balls in a year, cut that in half. Knock that down even further. Do it 0.1%. So if 0.1% of people that watch the videos end up buying balls, that's still 1,500 bowling balls in a year. Then multiply that by even just what Storm gets, not even what it sells for. Multiply that by 50. You're still getting to some fairly interesting numbers. Anyway, way off track. That's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. I'll finish the letter up, or the report up. The other thing that kind of doesn't make sense is that Storm doesn't want people to stash stuff, but they pay out the incentives in different periods. The last period's worth of incentives are paid out December 15th, and they don't roll credits over. And so most of the time you have several months worth of credits hitting your account at the same time. So if you get a deposit of $600 or $700 worth of credits and you get paid those out December 15th, and then you have 2 weeks to spend it, to use it or lose it, but they don't want you stashing stuff, that doesn't make any sense. So we already talked about that. We talked about that. Don't need to talk about that. Again, I have to say a big thank you to him, because again, despite the problems, we talked about all this stuff. So despite despite the problems, despite the issues, a lot of the stuff is either caused by staffers, something that's very easy to fix or adjust. I mean, quality control can always get better, and the quality control issues that they have aren't really a big deal. And everybody, you produce a certain amount of stuff, you're going to have stuff that slips through the cracks. You're going to have stuff that even if you're doing everything that you can do, some stuff is just going to go wrong. But a lot of things, again, I can blame consumers for a lot of stuff. It's not Storm. Storm's responsibility is to market and sell their product, and they give an awful lot back. They have the best staff program out there by a long shot. The bowling industry is just not in a great place right now. It's just not in a great place. And so, again, I stuck it out for several more years past when I really wanted to. I kept giving it a chance. It didn't really work out. But again, I'm still going to try to do my best by Storm. And even again, I'm still going to be making videos for them. I'm still going to be making videos showing off their products. And now they don't have to give me anything for it. So it's, a lot of product saved on their end. They're still getting the promotion. They're still getting the videos. I'm able to do more, which helps me out from that perspective. So hopefully we all win out of this. There's going to be some stuff that's going to come out that I'm really going to want, that I'm just, going to have to buy. But again, based on what I explained with the staffers that can get stuff at a discount, and it's not even worth their time. They would rather just pay the money. And I'm kind of at that same point too. If I want something, it's a whole lot more beneficial for me. I mean, just ridiculously, embarrassingly better for me to just buy what I want and step away from the rules and step away from the restrictions, because it should be better off. It should be better for everybody. So the rest of this stuff, I don't really need to. One other thing that I did want to mention is that I haven't mentioned this before, but I feel like what I was talking about with Koolaid stuff, since you guys all contribute to it, I didn't want to. We do a lot of things. We support a lot of charities. We've donated some balls and jerseys to local association tournaments, fundraisers. When people get sick and they're doing fundraiser tournaments or something, we'll donate a couple balls, some jerseys, or whatever else they can raffle off. Something else that we do is, again, when Koolaid gives us our staff credit for, based on the sales, they let us do pretty well anything with it. They encourage us to do giveaways. They want Koolaid people to do at least one jersey giveaway a month, if not more. And so I asked them about it because the Bowling Royal Crest that we film at, they approached me and were interested. It's like, hey, we want to get, as part of the kids bowling with our youth program, we want to get them jerseys. And so can you give us some information? How much is it going to cost? Can we get a bulk discount or whatever else? And so I asked the company, I'm like, well, I get plenty of, I have plenty of credits, and I'm not going to spend this all myself. I actually I've been on Koolaid staff for 3 years. This is my 2.5 years. And I have 15 jerseys maybe, and I've gotten some more hoodies. So I haven't spent very much of anything at all. Most of it's been given away to our Discord community through giveaways, through whatever else. And so I asked them, I said, hey, can I just comp this? Can I use my credits for this? And they said, oh yeah, absolutely. And so every year I use a good portion of there's 40, 45 kids in their youth program. So it's not huge, but you're still talking, even at a group discount, it's still $30-$40 a jersey. And so I've been able to, and Koolaid has allowed me to comp the jerseys for the youth league every year. And that's not something that I wanted to put out there because I don't want to, previously, because I hadn't wanted to use it to brag or something. But I thought that you should know because you guys are the ones that are buying the jerseys that are giving me the credit in order to do this in the first place. So it's really, drinks up to everybody who uses my code because I am using the credits to give a bunch of stuff away. We do all kinds of giveaways in our Discord server. Plus, I'm able to comp, $1,500 worth of jerseys to Royal Crest Youth Program every year. And so you guys are making that possible. I'm just trying to do the right thing with what you guys are doing. So I thought that you should know because that's what you're contributing to. We also add in a lot of things. We've raised over $25,000 for Positive Tales in Kansas City, and that's all, that's made possible through the channel, which was made possible through Storm. So I did my best to follow the rules. I think that again, the problems, we've talked about several things at length, but the problems that they have are very easily fixable and adjustable. I would definitely, if you want to be on staff with a company, definitely them. And if you put in the work, you'll get rewarded for it. There is a point, again, where if, this is a result, we're encouraged to do things in the staff handbook and in the staff group and everything else. They encourage us, make some videos, put up some reviews, talk to people, get out there, promote yourself, whatever else. And this is the result, I would have to imagine, of doing that and doing it well. The problem is that, again, the returns are greatly diminishing. So it's fine to begin with, but then you get to a point where the time and expense just so much more outweighs what you get out of it, that again, they're kind of, the current situation is that people are basically incentivized to do as little as possible to just get their discounts and move on. And maybe they might be okay with that, because the biggest problem is that they have to beat people off with a stick. There are so many more people that want to be staffers than they actually need. So I can't really look at them and say, because there's always somebody willing to do more for less. And so the fact that I've even gotten as much as I've gotten to begin with shows an immense amount of generosity on their part. Because it's like, well, why should they give anything to anybody? Because they've got a line of simps 1,000 deep that'll do anything, spend any kind of money, any kind of time promoting Storm's product in return for just being able to say that they're on staff. And so if I was the company and I'm looking at somebody like me, it's kind of like, well, you know what? You've already got it so much better than all these other people. And we've got all kinds of people lined up behind you to do more for less. So, we're actually kind of throwing you a bone. We're being really generous here. So that's another point. If it didn't work, they wouldn't do it. So why should they go out of their way to send people a bunch of product or pay people a bunch of money to rep their brand when they can get anybody else to do a whole lot more for a whole lot less? Why do they do all this marketing stuff or pump out so many balls or flood the market or whatever else? Why would they do that if it wasn't working? So it boils down to people need to stop being simps for these staff contracts, because it really doesn't mean what you think it means. Customers also need to educate themselves and figure out stuff themselves and stop falling for the stuff. Everybody keeps telling me, it's like, well, you should have more subs or you should have more traffic. But it's like, well, I hate all this clickbait. And it's like, well, somebody's clicking on it though. These channels wouldn't be doing that stuff if it didn't work. So at some certain point, the responsibility has to be placed somewhere else. So I can't, all this stuff, and I can sit here and complain about all kinds of stuff like I've done for 3.5 hours now. But, I still think I think it's a great company. I think that everybody that's on staff with them is lucky. I'm going to keep using their products, promoting their products. I like the frickin' signs. I like the logo. So in closing, just like my final line of the report, if you made it this far, thank you for your time and willingness to slog through the criticism and ranting. And hey, at least it's the last time you'll have to field one of my bitchy emails. So, we have talked about all kinds of things. I'm getting stared at. We're all ready to go to bed. So I've talked about all kinds of things, and I hope that you made it all the way through. And I hope that anybody from Storm that's watching this takes this constructively, because that's how it's meant. And yeah. So for as far as going forward here, still going to be doing, again, Zach and Tobias are going to be doing my Storm reviews. You'll see Tobias here before too long. James is going to be doing some Brunswick reviews. I've already gotten some footage for the new blue and the purple that I'm going to be working on. Also got some Ethos footage and some NV Tour footage. I'm going to be back to doing preview videos. I've got some report cards that are actually still going to come out. I'm going to do report cards for all the stuff that all the balls that we review are getting report cards. So that's not going to stop. I'm going to go back to doing the Stash or Pass videos. I'm going to have Bowler Smart specials, deals, closeouts, whatever else. So I've got way more videos to make than I have the time for. Just because I'm not with Storm anymore, I don't want anybody to blame them or hate them or you should have done more to keep him or whatever, this, that, and the other. It just didn't work out. It just didn't work out. And I have sometimes in business or in other things or whatever the crap this is, sometimes things just don't work out. I have no ill will towards anybody there. I think that they're doing great things and I like the equipment. I think that the way that they're supporting the bowling industry, you should continue to buy their products. And I'm still going to do tech support, customer support, whatever else for all of them. So, yeah. So unless anybody has any closing thoughts, you can always start the video. There's 3.5 hours of stuff to listen to, so you can always start it over. I hope that everybody that watched this took the time to listen to all of it, because that's important. I want you to take from this. Well, of course, I can't really tell you what you should take from this, but I hope you take from it that there's a lot of reasons that I'm not with them anymore, but those reasons are regrettable. I didn't really want to do this, but situations are situations. So thanks everybody for watching. I'm sure there's plenty of stuff that I didn't get to talk about that I want to talk about, but that's the point of this show. We're going to talk about all kinds of things bowling. And some of this stuff, I'm sure, is going to, some of these things are going to be topics for, because I'm sure that there's going to be more stuff going on. There's going to be more Chris Beans, Brunswick brand stuff to talk about. There's going to be more things happening in bowling. And so we're going to talk about all things bowling. We're going to talk about tech. I'm going to have some instructional stuff. It is going to be all kinds of stuff. I don't know how often I'm going to do these, but I am going to keep doing these. It's our fantastic set. Breakdown pair will be back in about a month. We haven't really started on the set for that yet. But, yeah. So have to go 2 more minutes. Oh, well, it's going to go 2 more minutes. Tip of the cap for how you've handled this whole thing. You've been an amazing resource for the bowling world. I'm excited to see what's next. And that's the whole, yeah, that's the whole point. And this is the way that I can best do this, the way that I can best continue to promote the company and, make it be able to justify my time doing it. And be able to continue to do it in the first place, because it was kind of reaching a point where it was really hard to justify, let alone not even working out. It was just hard to justify doing it at all. And so this was the necessary solution. So, yeah, there might be a Luke versus Packy with a purple hammer. Maybe on string pins down in Wichita. Who knows? You get all kinds of crazy. All right. It's time for bed. We need to get out of here. My alarm clock goes off at 5:30. My wife actually has to go to a job. I get to wake up and walk into the office. So anyway, thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for making it this far. Thanks for hanging out. The channel's not going anywhere. Should be getting bigger and better. Continue to buy Storm products. Continue to support the company. I will. So thanks everybody, and we'll